Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy May Vizzle here with another episode of Death Matches and Death Metal, brought to you by Night Shift Merchandise and Deathmatch Worldwide. Now, this interview that we're about to do right now, this has been in the works for, I want to say, a couple weeks now. Something keeps coming up in my schedule every single week, and last week we finally had it pinned down, and then I got COVID. So I'm really stoked to have on Tom from Blood Rage. He's also in the bands Crypt Rot, the gore grind band Flax, and the band Maimed as well. Um, Tom's latest release with Blood Rage is a split with Mortuary Ghoul. You can go check it out on Death Madness. And yeah, with no further ado, I bring Tom Hughes.
How's it going, man?
Man, living the dream, man. No complaints. I'm stoked to finally have
Are you
you on the
feeling all right
show.
now? You're not still dying from COVID?
Yeah, dude, it sucked. It was the worst
Yeah.
illness I've ever had in my life. I like the thing that sucks about COVID, it wasn't I mean, I've had stomach bugs where I thought I was going to die, right? But with COVID, it was like the first day I have a headache, and then it went away, and then I get like I think I'm getting better, and then I get the worst sore throat from hell, and then,
Yeah.
a day after that it was like more symptoms, and it was just yeah, it was like seven days of nonstop, just different symptoms. Every time I think I'm getting
Yeah,
better,
yeah.
it throws something else at me. So it sucks.
It kicks your ass, man. I had it twice. Like the first time was like not that bad. It was just like a normal kind of flu. And then the second time I had it, man, I was just in bed for like a week. I just had no energy, couldn't do anything. I was just dying.
Yeah, I hate it, man. Did you have it in the beginning, like right when that it first started going around?
You know what? I managed to go like a year. I think it was like, yeah, it must have been like a year because I remember feeling pretty smug about like getting away with it for that long. I was like, fuck yeah, man, I'm gonna be fine.
Yep.
And yeah, I got it, and it was bad. And then the last time I had it, it wasn't even like when it was bad. It wasn't even when there was lockdowns or whatever. It was just like was it this year? Yeah, it was this year. It was like a few months ago or something, and I was like, how the fuck have I got COVID again? And like, I was going on holiday. We like paid for a holiday. We were going away to this like little cabin somewhere, and like taking a dog and everything. And I was just dying the whole time. I was just in bed,
That
just like
sucks.
I was
Uh,
supposed to be like in a hot tub drinking like bubbly, and instead I was like just in the bath drinking like lem sips and taking antiparacetamols. Man, it was shit.
that's the worst, man. Yeah, getting sick on vacation's got to be the worst. I got a buddy that the last two times we've gone out to Vegas, cuz we go for like 3 days for a Vegas trip, and we always get wasted by the time we get down there. I always keep it cool. Like before, when I'm in the airplane, I'll have one or two shots. I don't blow my load all at once. You know what I mean? But this guy goes and he gets hammered, and then ends up spending the entire Saturday, because we fly out Friday night, spend a day in Vegas Saturday, and then fly back Sunday, and
Yeah.
he's hungover the entire day on Saturday. I'm like, dude, you wasted the vacation. Like, he
Yeah,
doesn't want
big
to eat
day.
anything, doesn't want to go out. He's just like, this sucks. I want to sleep in the room. I'm like,
Oh man.
so you just spent all that money to go sleep in a hotel room, basically. Like that,
Oh, that
I hate
sucks.
that feeling, man. That sucks.
Yeah, I don't really get wasted that much anymore because I'm pretty old, so hangovers just wreck me, man. Like, I think in my 20s I could do it, but like now I'm just like, but
Yep.
like, if I have like more than, say, two beers, if I have like three or four beers, I'm going to be hungover the next day. Like, I'm going
Yep.
to feel that. So,
Oh man.
maybe like special occasions now, or sometimes I feel like, say, if I go to a gig, like the last time I went to a gig was like, I was dying for some frozen soul,
Hmm.
and I got like I didn't drink that much before I went, but then I was so pumped up when I was there because I've never seen Dying Fetus and I was wanting to see him. I got fucking loads, man. I got absolutely smashed, and then yeah, I was just fucking dying the next day, dude. I it's the most I drank in fucking ages, and I was like, I don't know if you have it, but like sometimes I go to gigs and I'll feel pretty young, and I'll be like, fuck yeah, it's great. I'm gonna go in the pit. I'll go down the front. I'll fucking drink all these beers. And then yeah, I'm just like the next day, man, my body's just destroyed. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, I'm too
That's
old.
that's the worst, man. Yeah, like I I stay the hell out of the pit now at my age. I've been, when I was younger, I used to. So when I used to really like be into the scene, it was literally like when the scene was happening, like metalcore and all the Warp Tour was going everywhere and shit.
Yeah,
And that was probably the last time I even went into a pit because I remember I'm going in there, they're hardcore dancing. I got like fucking karate kicked by some dude in the head and went down and shit. And then I was just like,
yeah,
man, fuck. And I was probably like early 20s then. So now, like, I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna fuck my shit up, man. It's like trying to skateboard now. I'm like, I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna
yeah,
get
yeah,
hurt, and that's
yeah,
why Logan Dirt Riffs he cracks me up, man, because he still does that shit. I think he's like a year older than me, and he still does it.
mm,
He's like, yeah, he's like, I can't resist when I go to the shows, and I'm like, dude,
yeah.
like, oh my god, yeah, that
Like
shit,
I've got a friend. He's crazy, man. Like he used to be like a really like hardcore punk, and now he's like a family guy. He like does lighting on films. That's how I know him. Like he works on films, and yeah, he's just like just started skateboarding again, and he's like 42 or something. I'm like, dude, how the fuck do you do that? Like he's like literally he's like dropping in. He's like, you know what I mean? He's
yeah,
like on big fucking ramps and stuff. And I'm like, man, I don't know how you fucking do that, dude. Like, I'd be so like I think if you skate when you're young, you're all right, but then once you get older, you get a fear, and
yep.
then you you can't do it, man, because you're too like. I went to a skate park the other day. We just went for food because like there's a skate park down from where my girlfriend works, and then we were just there, man. And there was all these kids on scooters and stuff, just flying around the place, just not giving a fuck. And then it was like their dads just like doing really gentle, like up and down the ramp, you know. And I was like, yeah, I'm with them. Like I'd be doing the really cautious dad moves.
Yeah, I tried to after I had my son last year. I tried to get back into skateboarding because I was like, I'm gonna get in shape again. I gained a bunch of weight and everything, and it was summertime out here. The summers out here gets about like 106 degrees,
Oh,
so I'm out there trying to skate. After 10 minutes of trying to do like a fucking pop shove it, I'm winded. I'm drenched in sweat. I'm sitting there getting like palpitations and shit. Like, am I gonna
yeah,
fucking die? And yeah, I had to put the board back up on the shelf. It sucks too because I got all pumped up. I hadn't bought skate shoes in like 8 9 years, and I was like,
yeah,
yeah, I'm getting skate shoes. I got a whole deck, and then yeah, I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't hang
yeah,
anymore. I feel and it sucks because when I was like 18 19, I used to be able to skate like fucking miles like it was nothing,
yeah,
like without any water or anything. I would just be like, you know, not giving a shit, chasing around chicks at that age, just like whatever.
yeah.
And yeah, now I'm just like I'm on there. I'm like, man, I'm about to fucking like break an ankle or some shit and not be able to work. Like I can't,
How
you
old are you
know.
now, then?
I'm 30. Yeah.
Okay, you're
Yeah.
not that old. You know? I'm 37 in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, dude, it goes by so fast, man. My 20s went by like that, and I'm expecting my 30s to go, especially because I have my kid now. I feel like, this last year, 30 to 31 has been the fastest year of my life. So it's just like,
Yeah, and
damn,
like
dude.
every year is the fastest year of my life, man. Like I literally think your perception of time changes as you get older. So the older you get, the quicker it goes. Like it literally has been. I only noticed it probably when I was like late 20s, maybe your age, and then since then I've noticed it every year. Like how quick it's going. It's crazy.
Yeah, like shit.
It's crazy.
It trips me out when I look at like a movie that came out. Like the other day, I watched like The Nutty Professor, and I was like, I was like, this movie isn't that old. And then I'm like, fuck, this
Yeah, yeah,
movie's 23 years old.
yeah, man. I watched Dog Soldiers last night. Have you seen that? The
Nah.
werewolf film. So it's this like Scottish werewolf film, and I remember having it on video like when it first came out. And I watched it yesterday, and was the same. I was like, oh, it's not that old. Like it's probably like 10 years old. Or something. It was like 2002, which is like 20
20.
years ago, and I was like 17 when it came out. I was like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, dude.
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah, that shit's crazy, man. And
Mm,
and it sucks too. So you're a film buff, you're a movie buff?
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I can tell, man, with the fucking the Welcome to Crimson Pines. This shit blew my mind. So, I swear to God, I thought this was going to be when I first saw Blood Rage cuz I had been talking to Dome from Fulci, and
Mm,
he was telling me that he was making they were making a movie, and he had some side projects in the works, and then they have TV Crimes, which is like their collaborative. It almost is like an 80s synth horror type thing. And when I first saw this, I thought it was fucking Tome's side project. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
cool.
this is it. This is the 80s fucking horror, like
Yeah,
penultimate release, right?
yeah, yeah,
And then when I took a deeper dive into it, I was like, wait a minute. This is a side project from Crip Rot and fucking Trenchfoot. And I'm a huge fan of both, Crip Rot and Trenchfoot. So
yeah,
when I saw this, man, I was juiced. The packaging is crazy. Johnny Freeze does it right. He always throws in like
yeah.
the cool shit with your packages. Like I remember I bought like a Hormagaunt tape from him when they did the demo, and he gave me like alien blood inside of like a little vial. And
Yeah,
just the way that this whole thing was packaged together, and it's like a video cassette, like this old school. I think like
yeah, yeah,
they don't do these anymore. Like they used to do, like I remember Disney used to do them all the time, but after
yeah.
after the
Collectibles,
80s,
man. Like,
everything came in a slipcase.
yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah. Dude, that's what I wanted to do with it. Like, funnily enough, the like Dom doing the intros with the TV Crimes thing for that release was came about because I did that film for them. So like fuck, that was years ago, man. Like I think I got in touch with Fulci and just been like, oh, I make music videos. If you ever want a music video, let me know. And then they were like, when Tropical Sun came out, it'd been out for a while, and then he messaged me and was like, oh, can you do a video for uh fucking skull full of maggots? No, that's kind of what it is. Something maggots.
Yeah,
Fuck
skull.
me, I
I
was
think
saying.
it's
Sorry,
skull full
skull.
of maggots.
Yeah, is this? It was that fucking chemicals. I butchered a bit. I don't know. One of them.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's skull full of
uh,
maggots.
so it's something to do with maggots. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I wrote this um, treatment thing for a music video, and then he was just like, "That's not a music video. That's a film." I was like, "Yeah, well, I make films." So it was like this whole script and everything. I had actors in mind, and he's like, "Why don't you just make a film?" I was like, "Okay." So then they ended up like the label gave me some money, and then I made that Tropical Sun film for him, which has just come out now, actually. Like,
Wait, you made that?
yeah.
I
So
I
I made that.
dude, that I didn't even know that you made that. And that
Yeah.
fucking that's so dude, that's so crazy, man.
So that's
Holy
how I
shit.
know it, man. That's how he did the intro to the Blood Rage thing, is because the idea with doing the film was I'd write and direct a film, and then he would do the original score.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I gave him the whole film with like a temp score on, using stuff from it was like Fabio Frizzi stuff from like Zombie Flesh Eaters, or songs from like Nightmare City, like old kind of 70s like Italian zombie stuff. And then he took that and then made this original score to it. So yeah, that's just come out now on Time to Kill. The soundtrack's out and the DVD's out too.
Yeah, I'm waiting on the NTSC release because I believe
Yeah,
the
apparently something
PAL
wrong with
is
the
out.
plant or something was there.
Yeah, they said maybe another month or so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to get that copy, man. I'm like, I talked about it with him because when I interviewed Dome, we were talking about what a visual would look like for the band, and I was like, man, I was like, zombie strip club. You got to do a zombie strip club because they're so
Yeah,
groovy with their music.
yeah,
It would be awesome. Like kind of like
yeah,
my vision for it is like Bordello of Blood. Like you remember that?
yeah,
Yeah, so kind of like that, like two guys go into a strip club and ends up being a zombie strip club and they get fucking eaten, and that would just
yeah.
it would be funny, man. But
Do you know what I really wanted to do was like them, like I was, it was so before we decided to do the Tropical Sun thing, I was like, just wait till you come to the UK and I'll just shoot you a video. Because what I wanted to do, them playing in a crypt and then zombies coming out of the graves around them and then closing in as the song until they break in and they're getting eaten while they're playing at the end.
that'd be so sick.
But they didn't like they couldn't because of COVID and stuff. They just couldn't get over for like I don't know. It was like 2 years later or something. They finally came over. So that's how I ended up just like doing something without them in the video, basically.
Yeah, there were restrictions. Dome was telling me the restrictions were strange over in Italy too. He said like when they do shows, like people had to be seated and shit. Like when they started being able to do
Mhm.
shows again, he's like, "There's no mosh pit." He's like, "They're making people sit in chairs." He's like, "It's fucking
Yeah,
weird." He's like, "They're just watching
yeah,
us," you know.
yeah, yeah,
Like man, Yeah, so making films, man, that's fucking crazy, man. Like that's awesome, man. Like so as far as like flicks go, you seen that that In Search of Darkness documentary?
I don't know.
Oh,
I'm not
dude, you would
sure.
love it, man. If you haven't seen it.
Oh,
It's
is it the super long ones?
yes, yes, they have three parts. I
Yeah,
think the
yeah.
third
So
part.
I've seen the first one. The other two are on Shudder now, and I'm like, right, I'm like one Sunday, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna do the next part, but like I'm just never get around to doing the next part. It's the same with the Crystal Lake Memories documentary. Like
Mhm.
it's awesome, but it's so long. I'm like, ah, I'll just have to watch it in bits or something.
Yeah, seriously. I haven't even finished part two of the In Search
Okay.
of Darkness. I made it like a quarter through, but my favorite thing about it is that there's so many films that I hadn't heard of, you know, from that era that and you can't do well, I guess now you kind of can do that kind of stuff with the internet and everything and like independent releases, but
Yeah,
like yeah, for you're never going to see well, I don't know. I feel like there's even like kind of a renaissance happening in more on a more larger scale, on a more mainstream scale with those types of horror films. But there is a lot of shit they did back then that you can't do
yeah,
nowadays. Like that movie Mother's Day, for example. Like
yeah,
they could not fucking make that movie
yeah.
now, you know.
Yeah, I feel like the non-PC element of like 70s and 80s horror was what made it awesome. I mean, because it was always the most like for me, it was like going to video shops and my dad going down the like new releases aisle and looking at all the like action films and getting like whatever Steven Seagal was out. And then I would always sneak off like down the horror aisle and like just look at all the covers and just like I think I was probably about 15 maybe, and like I wasn't allowed to rent a lot of the stuff. Like, and I
Yeah.
was like, I remember asking all the time to rent Evil Dead. I was like, can I just get this one? It looks so good. And like, when I was eventually allowed to rent those things, when I was like 16, I was like, I was in there for life. You know what I mean? I think if you're not allowed that stuff, and it's like the most extreme stuff you can think of, when you finally get your hands on it, you're just like, this is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, you get hooked. I remember because we had Blockbuster over here, and I
Yeah.
used to run past the aisle when I would go through that section when I was really young. Because the all the scary shit looking at me, I'd be like
Yeah.
ah, like I'd fucking run through the aisle. I didn't want it to anything to come off the
Yeah. Yeah.
boxes and get me. And
Did
then
you ever see The Dentist or The Dentist 2 in the VHS shop?
no, no, are
Dude,
those some yeah.
the cover for The Dentist 2 is like, if you look at it now, like if you Google it, it's the most ridiculous shit ever. But I remember that really scaring me. And there was another one, I think Children of the Living Dead for some reason scared me, and that wasn't even that scary.
Pulling it up right now. The Dentist 2
Dentist 2.
cover.
I think
Yeah.
it's like stuff sticking out of someone's gums or something.
Yeah. Oh, this shit is nasty. Here, I'll pull it up for the viewers. Let me
Yeah,
see.
it freaked me out when I was young, that one. I don't know why, but it did. And the Vipco version of Cannibal Holocaust didn't have anything on the cover apart from the title, and it was like in like your today's guest, kind of like the pieces font. It was like, yeah, yeah, how shit
Yeah.
is that cover? And that scared the fuck out of me. That shit. It looks like
Holy
toothpicks sticking
shit.
out of their teeth.
Yeah, that's fucked up. Oh
You know what
god.
it looks like? Actually, looking at it now, is it looks like the fucked up Jack Frost horror film with a snowman on the front. Like it
Yeah.
reminds me. Of
Jack Frost. That movie scared the shit out of me as a kid, man. I was like, "Oh, cool." I wanted to see it so bad cuz it
Yeah.
just looked really cool and then yeah, that one scared the shit out of me. I don't know if you ever seen I think it's called The Ice Cream Man. That one scared the shit out of me too. Oh man, here I'll show you the Ice Cream Man cover. Ice Cream Man VHS. This fucking guy. Yeah, this dude right here.
Oh, dude, that guy's in loads of shit in the 80s, isn't he? He was fucking awesome.
Yeah, that
That
movie was
guy's
fucked up. He like I don't even remember what the movie was about. I just remember he was a killer ice cream man, and it came out around the same time that game Twisted Metal came out with Sweet Tooth.
okay.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was like, I used to like I was just at that age. I was probably like 6 years old, when I was aware of all this shit. But
Yeah,
yeah, I was like, oh my god, he has a movie. I thought it was him in the movie.
yeah,
And yeah, dude, my earliest memories of horror. I think the movie that finally Friday the 13th was the first series that I was like, okay, I got the balls to watch some of this shit now. And
yeah.
then I remember being super disappointed though because I didn't watch them in chronological order. I watched
Mhm.
them based on what the covers looked like, which the coolest
Okay.
ones were. And I want to say like 1 through 4 were just, or no, 3 and 4 and 5 were just covers of Jason's mask, like different a little bit. And then
Yeah, yeah.
you have you have Jason Goes to Hell, which I was like, oh,
Oh,
this is
yeah.
gonna be the sickest one. He goes to hell,
Yeah, it is
right?
a cool cover. Yeah.
And I watch it, and then fucking, it's just
It's not the coolest
everybody's
one.
eating the fucking heart, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? As
Yeah,
like a 10-year-old kid, I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
yeah, yeah. It was
Eh,
weird, wasn't it? It's the
Yeah.
same as when they did five, wasn't it? When they made it like not him, and then the
Mm-hmm.
guy had the blue stripes on his mask and shit, and it was just like, what was
Yeah.
he like? Just some ambulance worker or something? I don't know. He just
It
seemed
was
weird
the
guy.
it was the ambulance worker from the beginning of the film. You're
Spoiler
right.
alert! Spoiler alert!
Yeah, I know.
Fucking, it was
If
the
yeah,
ambulance guy all along.
yeah, that was dumb as hell. That was ridiculous. That one, and
Do you know
then
what I love those four? I love six. And I love because six is super fun, and I love four. I think four is the one with the kid who makes the mask, isn't it? With what's his name?
Tommy Jarvis,
Corey.
right? It's got young Tommy Jarvis
Yeah,
in
is
it.
the first one with Tommy in? I think that's
I think it's
four, is it,
four.
or
Yeah,
three?
because Tommy Jarvis comes back in five, I think, to kill the ambulance
Yeah,
dude.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure.
So maybe it's four then.
Yeah, and then which one? The other disappointing one, the second one I rented was Jason Takes Manhattan. And
Okay.
yeah, because I thought this movie was gonna be, because it was sick because it had Kelly Hu in it too, and Kelly Hu
Yeah,
was in
yeah,
Maxim magazine. I used to
yeah,
have a Maxim subscription. I'm like, what the hell? Like she's in movies too. But
yeah.
yeah. So at the end of that movie, there's only about like 20 minutes or 20-30 minutes of them
Of
actually
Manhattan.
in New York. The
It's just a film on a boat,
Yeah,
really.
on a fucking boat. And then like when I
Yeah.
I did the little I did a little research on it, I found out that it was because they didn't want to pay for the permits to film in New York because it was too expensive.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Fair.
so they fucking said, "Oh, we'll put it on a boat," and then it's like fuck. And when I saw the new Scream, I haven't seen it yet, Scream 6, but when I saw them in New York,
Yeah.
I'm like, is this movie really going to be in fucking New York or is it going to be on a boat?
It, I've seen it. It was, yeah, it was in New York. It wasn't that like I'm not the biggest Scream fan anyway though. Like I don't really like it that much, but
Yeah.
it was good. If you like five, then you'll like it.
Yeah, I haven't even seen 5. I remember last one I seen was like 4 in theaters, and I remember it was
Yeah,
okay. Because I mean, you can only, like, Scream is all about just fucking, it's more of like a thriller, because it's just a twist, a twist, a twist. Like, that's all of those films. They, like, really try
yeah,
to throw off the viewer, and you'll never guess what the ending is because they always do some weird shit. But
yeah,
it's very, like, there's a lot of like tropes that they put in Scream, like in the original couple ones, and the first ones were cool because like first
yeah.
two,
Man, the first one's
they
good.
were like an homage almost to what slasher films used to
Yeah,
be. But
yeah,
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 it kind of just got too over the top as time goes on. It's like, do you really need this many sequels in this with this particular
yeah,
franchise? You know,
yeah.
like just
And I
make.
think
Mhm.
it's like all about setting for me as well. That's why I love older horror because apart from Halloween, um, stuff in the suburbs doesn't do that much for me. So I like, you know, I want the woods, I want a spooky cabin, I want a full moon, I want mist. Like I
Yeah,
love gothic horror as well. Like I love the setting of horror, like the feel of like a spooky kind of environment and stuff. So I feel like older films did that better. But then also, like look at how gritty cities were in older films, man. Like look at Maniac and like New York Ripper and Driller Killer and stuff like even the Howling, like I forgot like the first part of the Howling when she's like doing a report thing and the guy's stalking her and then they're on like 42nd Street in the kind of triple X shops and like there's these weird booths you can go jerk off in and stuff like it was super
yeah.
gritty and dark, man. It was cool.
Yeah, they got to bring that back, man, into films.
Jerk off.
They got to bring back Blade 2. Remember in the at the very end when the dude's in there and he's ready to crank one out, and
Yeah.
then they open up the thing and Blade just gets him with the fucking the sword. Like that shit was
Dude,
funny.
Blade was one of those films that like my friend's mum rented for his birthday, and then we all went round there when we were like 12 and got to watch it, and it
Yeah.
was amazing. I remember staying up super late and watching it, and like as soon as that like dance song come on in the club and he's just fucking everybody up with a sword, we were just like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that Blade, like yeah, Blade. It's funny because that was a huge one for me too as a kid, and I used to think it was so cool. I used to fucking chase my cat around with a fucking paper towel roll, like I was Blade and I'm fucking him up.
Yeah.
And then yeah, no, I would try to watch it as an adult, and I'm like, man, this choreography was so cheesy because he's just like
Yeah, it's
his
really cheesy now.
they
Like the
zoom in.
editing is
Yeah,
like the editing is cheesy and the music's cheesy, and you didn't see it when you were younger, did you? But now you're like, oh, this is really aged really badly.
yeah, it was so
Weirdo
epic
stuff
too.
like even cheesier stuff like 80s stuff like Manhunter or like fucking Black Rain. Have you ever seen Black Rain with Michael
No,
Douglas?
I
Dude,
haven't.
it is the best. Um, it's this 80s cop film with massive aviators, and it's all about the Yakuza, and there's loads of like neon streets in like Tokyo or whatever, and like motorbikes, and it's just fucking sick. Yeah, Black Rain, you gotta watch that.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I
Like
just
that
wrote that
age is
down.
fine. Like that's super cheesy. Age is fine, but then you watch stuff from the 90s and the 2000s, and it's really laughably out of date. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's strange, man. Like when you go to '90s, like I want to say, I mean, there are a couple good films. There's a handful of good films, but I feel like that was a big era for like you remember. Yeah, have you ever seen any Takashi Miike films?
I think so. Yeah, I've seen a few. I don't know what were the big ones that he did.
He did so
Itchy the
Itchy the
Killer.
Killer was his biggest
Yeah,
one, and then he
I've
did
seen that.
there's a because you mentioned Yakuza, it made me think of that too. In the '90s, he did this film called Dead or Alive, and
Okay.
it's about this cop that's hunting down this Yakuza dude, and it the ending it just doesn't I can't even like spoil it too much, but it's just so over the top, like violent and disgusting.
Cool.
And you can tell that this guy, so he went from being like an apprentice for like major television in Japan. So he's doing really tame stuff, just camera work for like interviews and just regular television. And
Yeah,
it goes from super like domestic scenes that are just very normal where like a family sitting there eating breakfast and it's done like perfectly, right? And then the next scene it's like got someone in a bathtub with poop all over him and it's like what the fuck is going on? Like, he was nuts that's what he tried to do. He always just tried to like push the bar, and he said the best he doesn't want to like have standing ovations. He wants people to stand up and walk out of the theater
yeah,
when he makes these films.
yeah,
So it's like it's pretty cool to go back and see like films from that period of time where they're doing weird ass shit like that. And it's not like David Lynch. Like David Lynch, it's like
yeah,
he was really like, I'm gonna do some esoteric, really weird shit to make you uncomfortable. It's like
yeah,
this dude is just like, no, it's the poop and the guts, and here it is. There's nothing to like think deeply about this, and it
yeah.
doesn't come off as pretentious. You know?
Yeah, that's what I fucking hated about like being into films and like working on films. So I used to work on films. I used to be a camera assistant. I used to like do stills and stuff. I used to work on like independent features and like some TV stuff. And that's what pissed me off about working with people who were like into film is like they either didn't give a fuck about it and it was just a job because they'd done it for so long they were jaded, or it was like they were super pretentious, super arty, look down on, the type of stuff that I'm into. And then that's why I got out of it all and just started shooting my own stuff. And I was like, I'm just going to do horror and metal because that's all I like. So, and it was like, I don't know, it's kind of worked out loads better for me just making the shit that I want to make rather than trying to be like some swanky filmmaker. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's you got to do what you love. You gotta strip it down and go back to it, because that's the thing too, man. Like me and music, for example, like I fucking, I did hip hop for years. I did it for 10 fucking years, trying to pursue a serious career, doing
Yeah,
shows, changing my it damn near every 2 years. I would go through an entire image and like content change, the stuff I would talk about, kind of like
yeah,
chasing trends, doing a lot of that for a
yeah,
long time.
yeah,
And I fell away. I used to like love death metal, and I kind of like, I would listen to it sometimes, but I didn't like just go all out with it, because I was like, you know what, I don't want to put myself in a box. I want to do something profitable. And
yeah,
because there isn't a lot of money to be made in death metal. I mean, there is if you get signed to like Metal Blade, but you pretty much just getting free food while you're on tour. And then
yeah,
after that, it's like fuck, when you're not touring. But
yeah. It's more just people think, oh wow, you're on this
yeah,
thing. But like, yeah, the actuality of it is still like you're around a bunch of smelly guys in cargo shorts and you have to travel a lot.
yeah, seriously. And
Well, I
I
guess anyway, like I haven't done it, but I guess
yeah, I tried. So I was trying to get, that big 360 deal where I'd owe a label, a bunch of money.
everything they don't know this stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, and then have a bunch of jewelry and all that shit. But yeah, I pursued that for years and realized, like, man, the people that I did meet that were successful, that I rubbed shoulders with, they fucking hated it, or they
yeah,
were just so far out there that they just looked down on everybody. It's very similar,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
Like I did shows with who was it? Guys that weren't even huge. Like guys that weren't like top tier, but like there's like a rapper named Puya from Florida who's kind of big in the underground. And like Little B, I worked with Little B, the bass god.
yeah,
And then who else was it? Um I can't remember. Rob Banks, and I think he's Shaggy's son.
okay,
And yeah,
right,
I I did. It's weird, right? Like, but yeah, I remember like I got really close to some of these people and like rubbed shoulders with them, and then we even got to a point where we got reposted by XXX Tentacion, and we thought like,
okay,
oh,
yeah,
this is it, right? And then
yeah, yeah,
the producer I was working with was just like, man, fuck this, I don't want to do this anymore, and he stopped. And then I still chased it for a little bit after that, and then I realized, you know what, man, like I it really isn't me. So I went back and I'm like, I just want to do. I tried to do video game streaming. That shit didn't work out because I'd get too
yeah,
drunk and fall asleep. And then so so I was like, you know what? I want to talk to some of these death metal guys and see what the
yeah,
fuck
yeah.
they're about, and make a.
So when you finished rapping, when you did that split with Fluids, was that while you were rapping, or did you make that? Was that like a return to your rap stuff?
That's a
Because
return.
that was
I
good, dude. Like I listened to it and I
really.
was like, this is fucking really good. The beat's good. Like this, obviously the lyrics are funny as fuck, but like it was. I was surprised at how good it was because I used to be really into rap and I used to make beats and sample and stuff. And I was like, whoa, this is actually really fucking good.
Right on. Yeah, who would have thought, right? Like I fucking so what happened was I made a song as a joke to Mike. Mike from Warflurch sent me a beat,
Okay.
and we were ripping on Blood Incantation because I guess they said Gate Creeper is like Taylor Swift of death
Oh,
metal.
dude, I made a song like I do that gore grind flax thing.
Yeah.
I fucking for some reason, like 3 days ago, I thought about that interview and it pissed me off so much that I made an entire gore grind diss song called Time Wave Zero Cheese and Wine Evening.
Yes.
And I like sound designed a really pretentious dinner party. And then I read, like, you'll be able to hear this whenever it comes out later this year, I guess. I read quotes from their fucking interview
Yeah.
in like a really pretentious voice. And I was like, can I put this out? Like, am I supposed to be doing diss songs in death metal? But like, they lost me after that one, dude. Like, I was into them, but I thought they were pretty pretentious and kind of douchey. And then after that, I was like, if you don't like death metal, then just fuck off. Do you know what I mean?
Seriously, dude. I was like, man, like who the fuck are you to say who are they to say that they're the market leaders, Like what the fuck? And you
You know
know
what
what?
did what like the bit that I read back in that song the other day was like underground metal music contributed nothing to the musical landscape from 1990 to two, and it was just like fuck off, man. Like
Yeah.
and like I get that they like I don't know, like Alan Holdsworth or like Guthrie Govan or whoever, like slide guitar, smooth, wanky guys they like on guitar or like whatever music they're into. Like I like loads of different types of music as well, but then I feel like when you're doing death metal, you don't need to tell everybody how cultured you are and all the other shit you do. You just need to do death metal well and like death metal. Do you know what I mean? Because everybody in bands and everybody doing stuff in death metal is like around our age or older usually, or kids that are super into fucking death metal. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like that's all you've got to do to really be in it is just get it and be into it, right? So don't get into it and then shit on it.
Yeah, you like how the fuck you can't it's like an antithesis of what you're supposed to bring to the community cuz death metal too, a big part of it is the community. And this
Yeah,
is one of the most accepting communities, I mean there's a weirdo here and there, but like for the majority of it, people are usually cool as shit and they're
really, really
really
nice.
accepting cuz we're like already cornered, like with what we're
Yeah,
doing. And like you have to have a good, you have to have good vibes with you in death metal, and
yeah,
that's why like I started doing this show because it was like, dude, like, people don't know the people behind the music, like there are bands that I listen to. I've been buying a lot of Huang Quan cassettes
yeah.
every
Okay,
couple of
cool.
months. I'll do a
I'd
bunch
love
of.
to if I could afford the shipping, dude. I was
Yeah,
looking at them the other day and I was like, I can't afford the shipping.
yeah, no, it's like $30. I always make sure it's a big order, and I'll do it like once every few months, so to
Yeah,
make it worth it. And
yeah,
there are bands on there that just disappeared that you just don't see anymore. And like, I wish that there's some sort of content from them while they're active, talking about
yeah,
what they do and shit, and
yeah,
getting to
yeah,
know the people behind the music a little bit more.
yeah.
But
Like what happened with you with like going into hip hop and being a part of different kinds of music and then coming back to it is pretty much the exact same thing that happened to me. Like when I was a kid, I got into like rock and metal because my dad was into it. He had like VHS of like Van Halen and I don't know, like Sabbath and like Thin Lizzy live and yeah, Judas Priest live, like Maiden's live stuff on vinyl. So like when I was a kid, I got into it. Um, and then I kind of got out of it when I was a teenager. Weirdly, like I got really into death metal when I was like 14, 15, and then I got completely out of it into like dance music and Tupac, and that's all I listened to for years,
yeah,
right? And then I got really into like Dilla and Madlib and like MF Doom and like the underground rap stuff and started sampling and buying records throughout like a lot of my 20s and didn't play guitar for like years. And then, yeah, as I got to my kind of late 20s, I was like, okay, this isn't me. Like, weirdly, I took some time out. Like, I was working in kitchens as a chef for like fucking years. And I took some time off that. And I had to stay with my parents for a bit. And like, my mental health was really bad. And I just like took like a year and just didn't do anything. And then in that time, I was like, it was weird. I kind of reconnected with who I was when I was a kid and when I was a teenager. I started watching horror again, started listening to metal again, like started growing my hair. Obviously, I'm cutting now, I'm growing it back again now. But yeah, and once I got back and kind of found myself and who I was again, I've just been doing like this kind of music ever since. And now I think it's the first time I've had like a creative outlet where I don't feel like I have to do or be anything.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? I don't have to dress a certain way, look a certain way, to be cool or anything. You know what I mean? Like I can just kind of just be myself, and it's like fine to do that within death metal because people are like you said, people really accept it and really cool about stuff.
yeah, man. Like it's weird how that it's funny you talk about that reconnection because when the pandemic happened, I was like, you know what, I had started listening to Black Dahlia Murder again because they were the band that brought me to the extreme like side of
Yeah,
death metal. I heard them when they first came out because I was into all that scene shit, and then I heard Black Dahlia and I was like, whoa, these guys are just fucking heavy, like from the beginning to the end. They're
yeah,
melodic but they're heavy.
yeah.
And yeah, like I went back to that, picked up a guitar for the first time in fucking years because I put my guitar down for a long time and just tried
Yeah,
to figure out the tabs, and their shit's really hard to play,
yeah.
So I'm sitting there chipping away at it, and I took a lesson from Brandon Ellis because he was doing guitar lessons for a little bit,
Okay, cool.
and yeah, that was awesome, man. Like he made me feel like I shouldn't even be playing guitar though because he's so fucking good. Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Yeah, it's coming back to it, it's a freeing feeling. It's definitely, you're just like, you know what,
Yeah,
I can do what I want to do. I'm more comfortable to step out of my comfort zone with death metal. Like, I remember
yeah,
going to my first show, I gave away some tickets to some people that were in the Blast Fiends Facebook group, and I was like, hey, I'm promoting my show, I'm giving away a couple Black Dahlia tickets for their Up From the Sewer tour. And the guys messaged me after I gave them the tickets, and they were like, and this was before I got like really into the scene. I just started doing the show and everything.
yeah,
And they were like, hey man, we want to meet up with you and grab you a beer, at the show. And I was like, I don't want to fucking meet up with nobody from the internet. And I'm part of this community too. And like, looking back, I'm so dumb, and I should have met up with these guys. But yeah,
yeah,
that's how weird I was, like in this zone of like, I
yeah,
don't want to meet up with anybody. I just want to give you free tickets, promote what I'm doing, and
yeah,
it
yeah,
is what it is. But yeah, now that I've made some of my closest friends through this, like death metal stuff, like Dirt Riffs is like my fucking brother.
yeah,
We've been, just constantly talking, and then Mike from Warflurch, like he's introduced me to a whole bunch of people, and yeah,
yeah,
has just a constant like everybody's like delivering constant positive messaging, and it helps me
yeah,
in my regular day job, just like getting through life in general. you know
yeah,
it's fucking awesome, man. And I
yeah.
never got that from hip hop, man. What I got from hip hop was,
No,
I always knew where I could get some weed, and
yeah,
through somebody I knew that I did shows with, or
yeah,
fucking I always knew where the party was, pretty much.
yeah,
But and I always knew who we were having problems with. Like, that was another thing. There was always some sort of drama, or like,
yeah.
you know
There's more. There's loads more drama. Like you know, like hip hop news, like hip hop DX or whatever it is. It's like all it is about drama, isn't it? Like all the
yeah,
hip hop news is about drama. Every like radio station, like look at like Sway's good, isn't it? 'Cause Sway's pretty positive, but he does ask kind of dick expression sometimes. But that fucking was that fucking guy, Charlemagne. I fucking hate that guy,
yeah,
dude. He's so.
Charlemagne the
I
God.
know I'm saying I hate someone while I'm talking about being positive, but all I'm saying is there's so much negativity there, and it's always drama, and it's always playing at conflict and all this kind of shit. It's just like weirdly me, like what you said about like wanting to talk to people in metal and feeling more comfortable there. Like one of my main moments that kind of got me back into like metal and stuff was being really into hip hop. And I used to write a hip hop blog, and I used to get sent releases from labels in the UK and America, and I used to review them. It was just like a WordPress blog. But I would like I was really into like underground hip hop in the UK, so I got to know a bunch of people. I got to speak to a bunch of people, and I started interviewing people and meeting up with people, and I felt so out of place and uncomfortable, and like yeah, like I couldn't be myself or whatever. That I think that's what kind of was like. Do you know what? It's cool you like this, but it's not really you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
I think
I
that's what drove me back towards death metal.
when I did hip hop and I would do interviews, I would be a totally different person in front of the camera too, or like when people
Yeah,
are asking me questions, because I'm like, okay, does this align with what I'm currently
yeah,
messaging or putting out? Like, I couldn't be genuine. I had to put up a facade with my image, with who I
yeah,
am. Like,
yeah,
I'm this crazy fucking, what I was. They called me White Django at the end, and that was my moniker for a long time. And I had this project called Crack God that was coming out, and it was crazy, ignorant, like screaming, mixed with like very heavy bass. And
mm,
yeah, when I was doing that, I was just acting fucking nuts. I would go out there and just yell, "I sell more cocaine than you weigh." I was like being like a wrestler. You know what I mean? Like, that was the type of energy I had to always bring in front of,
yeah,
certain people. And then yeah, someone tried to sit down and do like a real candid interview with me at one point, and I was like, well, I gotta, be White Django right now. So I did that, and they ended up not using the interview because they were like, yeah,
yeah,
this is too intense. This is, I feel like this is not good content. And I was pissed off about it. I'm like, oh yeah, well, fuck you, man. Like, I'm trying to,
yeah.
do my shit. But yeah, it definitely, it's a different world with really big egos and stuff. And it's funny too because I haven't interviewed a lot of wrestlers. This is a deathmatch show as well, where I interview deathmatch wrestlers, and I haven't interviewed a lot of wrestlers because um, it's difficult dealing with the egos sometimes. I everybody who's been on my show, I haven't ever had any issues with them. But once I started breaking into like a higher, not a higher tier, because everybody's kind of up and coming in this scene. It's a very, just like death metal, it's a small scene. But
Yeah,
once
yeah.
I started reaching out to guys that are, a lot bigger, they're starting to ask me for money. They're starting to like,
Okay.
be more, like kind of pretentious towards me. And I'm just like, look, dude, like, I know not everybody likes death matches, and like, come on, like, just come, let's talk about what you do. I got some cool questions for you. Like, that's the type of
Yeah,
shit I
yeah.
try to get into, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's just that the ability to like interview somebody. I don't fuck with PR. If someone tells me they have PR I have to get
yeah,
through,
yeah,
I just draw the line there. I'm like, you know what? If I can't just have someone on talk about it,
yeah,
I can't do it.
yeah.
But
I'm the same with film stuff because I need to hire actors for stuff that I do a lot of the time. That's why a lot of my videos you'll see me work with the same people because once I know people are cool and I can trust them and they'll turn up and they're like up for doing the kind of stuff that I do, I tend to just use the same people because when I try to use different people, they'll be like, "Oh, my manager will get back to you," and you're just like, "Dude, you're fucking like." Like we're both borderline unemployed. You know what I mean? Like I know this. I'm unemployed most of the time. You're unemployed most of the time. I can pay you for a day of acting. Just come on. You know what I mean? You don't need to pretend that you're like, oh no, I'll be in London that weekend. It's like, dude,
yeah,
you know what I mean? You live in fucking Wales in the arse end of nowhere, man. Just come and do this horror video with me.
yeah, it's like, come on, man. It's fucking. You're lucky I'm not paying you in beer at this point.
Dude, you know what? Watching your stuff though, like all your interviews, I haven't seen all the interviews, but I think the last one I watched was the Seep one. I really like that guy from Gurgling Ball. That was cool. But the fluids one, man, like how you kept your so you didn't know that was going to happen with the fluids one because you kept
They,
your cool really well.
I knew so. I knew fluids was gonna be very strange with me. I just I had at the second I started hearing a robot voice, I was just
Yeah,
like, yeah, this is, you know, it's gonna be this way. Because I did an interview a long time ago with a artist called Vivi Vex, and up until that point, every time I did an interview, I would have, you know, an entire planned interview. Everything was
yeah,
written down, questions, and I would have, probably 2 hours worth of questions, right? So
yeah,
I interviewed Vivi Vex, and Vivi Vex was, I don't know if you're familiar with her. She was in Metal Injection's Slay at Home Fest. That's where I saw her for the first time. And she
right.
did it was like a industrial cover of Hit Me Baby One More Time. And I was
Okay,
like
cool.
this, and while dressed like almost like the Exorcist.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh, this is cool. And everybody was talking shit in the comments. So I'm like, you know what? I want to interview this person and find out, what drove them to do this and,
Yeah,
what they do. So I did tons of research for days on BV Vex to try to almost be like Nardwar with my questions.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then VV Vex jumps in. So I send a text message. I'm like, hey, can I get you on the show? VV Vex says VV Vex is dead and died after that concert, but you can interview one of VV Vex's clones. And I'm like, all right, I'll play along, So
Okay,
I get VV Vex's clone in, and it's black and white, and there's a fucking nurse on standby, and VV Vex, the nurse is like, she can't speak, and I'm like, what? Like, hold on. So I tried to ask questions, and then they just kept saying, that's classified. The nurse keeps going, that's
uh,
classified. That's classified. And I'm like, I was like, what the fuck? And then next thing you know, like, BV Vex, the clone, starts freaking out, and just blood or some sort of like black goo starts coming out of the mouth. And then the nurse is like, okay, we're going to have to end this now, and like slams the laptop shut.
okay,
And it was live. And I was just like,
yeah,
I'm ready for this 2 hour interview, and
yeah, yeah.
it's over in like 5 minutes. And I was just like,
Oh,
okay. So whenever, after that, that was the last time I ever prepared for an interview other than,
okay,
just
yeah,
knowing who I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah,
to, and knowing the
yeah,
music. And when I had fluids on, I had a couple backup questions just in because there were questions that I wanted to ask. And
yeah.
we pretty much got through all of those, and that was it. And they didn't even answer all of them, you know. But the other thing is they scare the shit out of me. Like listening to the Not Dark Yet album. That was my introduction to them. Not Dark Yet had
Oh,
just
was
come
it?
out.
So that
Yeah,
intro is
that was
that I like for some reason that intro I find worse than the Colombian cartel stuff on, you know, exploited practices and whatever the yellow one was. I can't remember the yellow one was called.
I can't. I
I
always get wasted, like drunk, like super wasted drunk, and I decide I don't know why I do this every fucking time. This is how you know I'm like blacked out drunk, because I'll be like, "Hey, you want to listen to a record?" And like with whoever I'm fucking talking to, and it'll be like my aunt, my
yeah,
cousin, fucking a friend that doesn't listen to death metal, and I'm like, check this band out, and I'll put it on and on the record, and I never make it through the whole fucking song. I always like have a change of heart in the middle of the song, and I'm like, yeah, even I'm uncomfortable, and I turn it off, and then they look at me all weird. But yeah, that
yeah.
that I can't stomach it, man. And I had to ask them about that, you know, because yeah, that was fucked up. But yeah, that was
I
weird. It
thought you
was
did really good to like just stay cool with that though, because I think I would have freaked out about it. I'm like, fuck, what am I gonna do? Like, what's going on? And I thought like watching it, like, because obviously there was nothing from them. Like watching you just keep it cool. I was like, yes, he's fucking like. I thought you did really well, man. I
right
thought
on.
like you together really good in that interview.
Yeah.
I think like you know like with the horror aisle and like the way kind of stuff that you don't know about when you enter a new realm and then it kind of scares you a little bit. I feel like that's while listening to Fluids is like even that like I've been listening to them for like a good few years around, but it's like there is an uncomfortableness to it, and because the samples are real stuff, and like I don't watch stuff like that really, so I don't know. I haven't seen any of the videos they're sampling. I don't really know the context of what it's in, so it's just super dark. And like it always, so I got the CDs in the car because my car isn't posh enough to have one of those leads you plug in to like connect your phone. So like I've still got a car for like full of CDs. I still buy CDs for the car, and it'll always be when I'm pulling into somewhere or I stop at a light and my window's open, the song will end and one of those really fucked up samples will come out. People think I'm crazy now. People have been looking at me and I'm like, I don't listen to Torture. I just like this band.
Yeah, they're like, "What is this guy? This guy's driving around listening to his tapes."
Running, screaming, fucking dude.
Like, fuck, man. I just finished listening to a podcast on what was it called? Bob Berdella. You ever heard of that dude? I know you're into true crime because that's what the last Crypt Rot release was about.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
like you changed the story a bit to make it something that was actually
yeah, yeah,
mystical and shit. That was cool,
yeah.
man. Yeah, I got it right here. An ancient summoning.
Well, nice man.
Yeah, this is a
I saw one of those
badass
in the
project.
UK as well. I've still got some of John's Frozen Screams copies, and I've still got Brutal Mind stuff in the UK. So if you're in the UK and you're watching this and you haven't got it, I've still got 3 T-shirts left that I can't ship. So buy a T-shirt or a tape off me. Dude,
Yeah,
that release, like the timing was just so bad. And I was like, the when the release came out was awesome, but then how long it took to get all the stuff from Brutal Mind was like such a delay. I think I got like obviously like John was fine, Frozen Screams was fine, he's always awesome. And Dry Cough, like Andy was fucking awesome too. Like just after that came out, I had the UK tapes and then we got John's tapes. But the Brutal Mind stuff took so long to come, man. By the time I had merch and everything, it was literally like 4 or 5 months later. So then I was like trying to sell. Like I got it. I think the album came out in November, and I got the merch March maybe. So then I'm like, oh, should I put it up for Bandcamp days? And I think it was like April's Bandcamp day or something. I was like, remember that album that came out 5 months ago? You want a T-shirt today? You know, and just nobody's bought the shit because it's like it's such a delay.
yeah, yeah. It's like promoting, man. Like that. If in that situation, because I worked with Murder City Records. We actually put these out. I have two left. Fucking, there's a band called Necrovision that we put out, and I did these like collaboration T-shirts, and I knew the turnaround was gonna be that long, So what I did was I put everything up as a pre-order, and then I put in like big ass words, "Will not ship for four or
Yeah.
5 months," because and the thing was, Necrovision didn't agree to do the release until they already put it out on
Okay.
streaming. So because they
Yeah.
were hesitant because it was a new label at the time. So I was like, hey, look, like I think this label is going to do a good release for you guys. Let's get it set up. And they're like, okay, oh yeah, we just released the project today. I'm like, oh man, because it's having
Yeah.
it all lined up at the same time is definitely
Yeah.
the ideal way.
That's like since that experience, I always try to line everything up as closely as I can. Like the split that came out yesterday, like the Frozen Screams pre-orders went live yesterday, so they're up now. They'll run for like 2 weeks, and then you'll send that to the plant. And the Cavernous CDs, which is UK based but you ship in everywhere. I think I approved that stuff last week, so that's already at the plant now. So they should start shipping towards the end of May. So there'll be a really small kind of delay between the actual like digital release, which was yesterday, and stuff getting in people's hands,
Yeah.
which is cool. Like I want to try and do all releases like that from now on.
Yeah, it's the best way to do it, man. It sucks when like you have to sit on a lot of stock. I got a fair amount of stock right now, not too much,
Yeah.
because I do a distro too. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
so I want to say I have like two Tupperwares full of cassettes, so probably like 20,
Yeah.
20, 25 cassettes. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay, so I'm already planning another release. That shit's gonna be 100, maybe 200 run, depending on what
Okay.
pre-orders look like. But yeah, I hate it when you have tons of shit and you're just like, I'm not getting any clicks.
Yeah.
Like nobody's like looking. I'm like
Yeah.
throwing
No.
deals and shit. Like, hey, use this code and get 20% off, and still no one
Right.
fucking buys shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the
Yeah.
hell?
It's like it's hard, man, isn't it? Because like you wanna like what I always worry about, dude, is coming across like because I don't play gigs, so I don't
Hmm.
do any of this stuff live. So I'm just pretty much just making music and putting it on the internet and putting out kind of tapes or whatever. I always worry that like with the accounts that I have on Instagram, I come across as like I'm always like promoting something or like trying to make money off people or whatever. But at the same time, it's like I've got all this stuff and I need to shift it, or I've just been sent this from a label, so I kind of want to get it out there. So I feel like I need to start giving back and doing more content that isn't me going, hey, buy this shirt or these tapes are in stock or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could do a giveaway every once in a while. That's what I try to do to keep things fresh and be like, hey,
I like
here's
to
some
give
free
people
shit.
free stuff, man. Like
Yeah,
I I'm lucky because Frozen Screams is so good, like he'll give me loads of extra stuff and I've started making extra stuff for the bands as well. Like I got these like die cut Blood Rage logo stickers. So like people that ordered the t-shirt yesterday get like a sticker that other people won't have. And I've got like a little sticker set thing that everyone's getting. Um, like when they order the shirts, I like to try and like give people like extra stuff. Like sometimes I'll just give people an extra tape. Like I know the guys in Scotland in like Brain Bath and Dave from like Gouger. I'll just give him like if I've just got a spare tape or something, like a
yeah,
rock tape or like something cheesy that I know they're just like fuck yeah metal as fuck. I'll just give him an extra cheesy metal tape when I send him stuff.
yeah. That shit's crazy. I ordered a package from Fluids one time and they hooked me up. It was after we did the interview. They gave me a cover. It was actually it came out of a fucking Decibel magazine, and it was one of those like flexis, and they
Oh
sent
nice,
me
yeah.
they hooked me up with the free Fluids flexi, the themed one that came out, and then they threw in it was a cover, Midnight doing a cover of a song. And yeah, getting definitely like when the homies send packages and you get like a little bonus something in there, that's like for sure a good feeling. I try to do the same thing too when
Yeah,
I send
that's the
things.
one.
Like every time I send Logan
Dude,
something,
like
I'll send him some random shit in there.
yeah, I'm gonna start doing like a really small tape label um to put out my stuff in the UK because there's not that many UK labels now and a lot of them are full, man. Like they're pretty much full for the year, and like because I make a buttload of music, I want to try and put it all out. So I'm working on that at the moment. It's going to be called Death Stir Records, and that's going to be like really small runs, like 20 tapes, dubbing them myself. Doing all the layouts myself, doing the sticker design myself, but like assembling them
Yeah.
myself, and like yeah, just doing really small runs, man, just to try and give. people tapes when the album comes out digitally as well. But the cool thing about it is it'll also allow me to like I can dub them like because obviously I'll get all my stickers and my J cards and stuff done, and then I'll do a certain amount, and then maybe I'll do like 10, and then after that I'll dub them as they sell, so I won't be sitting on loads of tapes anymore. Because I was gonna use like band CDs, which is kind of a UK. It's the UK equivalent of like duplication CA, I guess, where you like pay them and they give you stuff. But it's so expensive. It's like 100, it's like 110 for like 20 tapes, I think. So it adds up, man. It costs you loads. And I kind of worked it all out. I was like, oh, it's probably cheaper and more fun just to try and do it myself. So like at the moment, I'm like knee deep in like learning about like tape formats and working out the lengths I need and like learning to record and try and get the best quality and my levels set right and everything. That's what I was doing today. I was like um, seeing if I could record from my computer to my tape deck thing because
Yeah.
it's got like a line input, but it doesn't really sound good enough because I want to do my own copies of the Flax album that's coming out in June
Oh, okay.
because I'm getting CDs but nobody's doing tapes. So I'm going to do it myself. But yeah, I think I might have to pay somebody to do a master tape for me properly and then dub from a good quality master tape because I'm not getting like even though it's gore grind, technically I could just be like, it's fucking gore grind, whatever. Like it's supposed to be distorted, that's where it's supposed to be. But like because it's like the first thing I'm gonna pull out, I'm like, okay, I gotta do it properly so people like know they're getting something decent.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to have that high quality. I've ordered from dupe.ca. That was how we did the Necrovision tapes. And when they
Yeah,
came, the quality, I mean, the quality of cassette just in general compared to digital, you're always going to have a big drop off unless you have like a badass like Nakamichi tape player or something. And not a lot
yeah,
of people have those decks. Like I play off this little, where is it? I got this little boombox back here, a little white
yeah,
boombox that I use. And yeah, the quality, I can barely hear like everything blending well. Everything kind of mushes together. It gives me a muddy sound when I play on it. And it was funny
yeah,
because I was tripping. I was like, man, the quality came out shitty on these tapes at first. And then I asked my buddy who has a quality player, and he's
yeah,
like, no, it sounds good. He's like, it's very close to the digital. He's like, I can hear everything
yeah.
in there. And I'm like, oh,
That's what I've
okay.
been trying to do is play the dub that I did today. I played it on a few different things just to check it. I mean, it was the opposite outcome. It was as shitty as I thought it was. I probably did it wrong and recorded. Like, there's no on the like to be able to record into the thing. There's no level. Like, there's no line level, so you can't see the gain you're setting. So you have to try and set the gain through your interface without like a meter. So it's like, I think it's so risky trying to do that way that I'm gonna have to get someone to do like a pro tape, one pro tape for me, and then I'll dub from that. I'm hoping.
Yeah, and it takes time too because you got to sit there and manually let it go and run and
Yeah,
fuck, man. I hate that when
I've
you
got
spend hella time on a project and then you like, all right, and then you're like, fuck. Now I gotta like restart all this shit. I filmed an entire music video one time with my boy. He had a GH5, I think, like right when they came out. It's a badass
yeah,
camera, and he didn't. We filmed for 10 hours this whole music video. Every scene we got all every. I was so shocked that we were able to get everything together, and I was like, all right, time to edit this. I throw it all in Premiere, and fucking he didn't know how to focus the camera. He
well, it
was
was
like,
on
I
manual focus, was it?
it was on manual focus, and he didn't know how to work the camera yet because he just bought it, and he was switching lenses too, like the whole time we're doing shit, and he was
Yeah,
like using a zoom lens on some of the scenes, and like you see like my head like popping in and out. I'm like, were you even looking at the image on the thing? And he said, nah,
yeah,
I was. He said I was just looking at you and like holding it up. I'm like, God, you
oh,
gotta.
dude, you gotta look through it, man.
Yeah, we had to redo the entire fucking video, and
Dude,
yeah,
you make so many mistakes when you start filming. It's insane how, like, you'd think filming stuff would be really easy because you just point a camera stuff and film it, but to shoot stuff in a way that it cuts is so hard. Like, I shot a video last week And like I still do a whole process where like I break down the song into like sections, and then I write to those sections. So I'll have obviously like more hectic bits where it's heavier and calmer bits on a build up that like crescendo or whatever. And I'll still do an entire shot list, you know, like wide established shot, medium as he opens his eyes, close as his eyes look around, wide as he walks through the woods, close on his feet as he walks. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
in order of how I'm gonna cut. And weirdly, like by the time I get to shooting, I don't even end up using the shot list really. But like the process of writing it and like imagining how it's gonna cut to the song in my head is like enough to be able to shoot something that cuts together. But it took me like I've been doing film and stuff for like 6 years, man. It'll be 7 years this year. So it's like it's taken me that long just to be able to like feel confident with a camera and shoot stuff and know it'll cut together and be okay, you know, because
yeah.
fucking struggle, man. It's really hard.
Yeah, it's tedious too when you're
Yeah,
first figuring out like how to time things. Like just syncing. There were so many music videos I did like with in what was it? It was like the Microsoft the free video editor that came with Microsoft because
yeah,
I bought me a little handy porno cam, and I was just going around to parties at the college town I was at and filming myself rapping and like, hey, hold this camera, film me real quick, and just doing the sync from for the entire song
yeah,
was a pain
yeah,
in the ass, like
yeah, yeah.
trying to get everything lined up perfectly. And it I seen this video. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but they got fucking AI doing editing now. um
Oh no.
yeah, they literally put all the files that they want together, and then they told the AI how to do it, and it's just going cutting and moving every
Wow,
single thing in seconds.
wow.
And I'm like,
And it
dude,
looks all right when it plays.
it looked legit. It probably, I don't know if AI is going to be able to completely do everything that someone
Yeah,
would want to do with the vision,
yeah, yeah,
but yeah, just seeing the way that it was fucking slicing everything up and moving it was
yeah,
impressive.
yeah.
Like,
Like you could definitely do it with the technical side of editing, like cutting on a blink,
yeah,
cutting on a movement, cutting halfway between a movement or whatever, like going from a wide, into a medium or whatever. Like technically, you could definitely do it. The only thing I don't think it could ever get is like holding on someone's face to get an emotion for a certain amount of time. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like stuff like that, where it's like you're not going to cut because you need to hold on how devastating that is to someone before you cut away. Like that's what it'll always miss, I guess, isn't it? But it
yep,
would be sick to have like people do it all the time, like with films. They get an assembly editor just to go in Premiere and just cut everything and just assemble everything, and then they'll go in and put the emotion into the scene that they've written and like really get the like point of the scene across. It
yeah,
would be sick if you could just get AI to just assemble it, and then you could go in and make all the tweaks and do the cool stuff. That would be cool.
yeah. That would make shit so much easier, man. Like I've been so I'll do a little bit of lifting of the veil right now. But so that fluid single that I put out was it's a single from a up full album that's about to be coming soon.
Oh,
And
so what? A split?
full length, it's a full length. They
Oh, your
produced
full red
it.
top.
Yeah, they produced it, and I'm rapping on it, and it's gonna be a Fluids X Vizzle album. And
That's so good.
yeah, I don't know if I can say the name yet, but there was one track that we had in particular where it I wish we had something to automatically line up the vocals, because I finished it and then I sent over the edit, and then something happened with the exporting of the wave file to where it like
Yeah.
unsynced the stems. So like it was like literally a fraction of a millisecond was like fucking up the whole flow of the song.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
having a tool to just automatically fucking line that up, that would help for music too, because music and video editing are very similar, like when you're trying to
Yeah,
line
it
and
is.
sync
It
things
is.
up.
Yeah. Like because I organize a lot of the projects that I do musically anyway. Like it's usually me and other people, and I send them stuff to, and they send it back to me, and then I put it together and mix it or give it to someone for mixing. But like knowing how to organize files and like how to like be neat and have a workflow and stuff like from video editing helps so much, man. Because it
Yeah.
gets confused. Like I'm using a lot of like real drummers now, so it's like I've got actual drum tracks now. So it's like it's a fucking lot of tracks, man. It gets confusing and like it's taken me ages. Like the Flax stuff now that I've been mixing it myself. It's taken me years just to be able to mix that well, and it still sounds pretty shit compared to like it's for gore grinder sounds alright, but
Yeah.
if you listen to like say you listen to something good like Max's stuff, the Lipoma stuff, or like Meat Spreader, or I don't know, like fucking Cody stuff, dude, like the Putrid Stew stuff, like
Yes.
how good that shit sounds is how good I love Flax to sound, but like I just can't produce that one, man. You know what I mean?
It's
Like,
that low end that he does. It that's what
yeah,
everybody tells me. And they're like, he who was it? I can't remember who. There was someone I talked to, and they said we had to send over the project to him just to get the low end right. And I can't fucking remember who did it. Um, I don't know why. I can't remember because I know. So
he's so good.
Hunter Young does good mixing too.
Who?
Hunter Young from Swamp Sound over in Florida. He's the guy that
Okay.
he did Weeping. He produced the Weeping releases.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
do you know, just mixed something for me as well that I got back today, which is fuck. It sounds fucking. It sounds exactly how I want it to sound. Is Lou Lou Simmer? His name is Louis Simmer.
Where's he
He's
from?
like, fuck. He told me earlier somewhere really European. Oh, my phone's downstairs, man.
Yeah.
He's in Vault now. He used to be in Teratoma. He was in for a while. Like
Oh,
he does all
okay.
these like one man
Yeah.
slam projects,
I
dude,
know
and like
Teratoma. They are heavy. They have a
how
really
good is that album,
thick,
man?
heavy sound. Dum
The
dum.
low
That
end
like
again, though, like I did a mix of these songs. So the project's called Mass Killings, and it's me and the singer from he used to be in Defleshed and Gutted, and now he's in A Pretext for Human Suffering. They just put out stuff on Reality Fade.
yeah.
So I'm doing what I'm always doing, the guitars and the bass and stuff. I got this drummer who does some like kind of session drumming for me in America. So he did drums on it, and I just told him to tune his snares like high as he could. And I fucking did my mix. And now I like when I do the tapes on my label, I'm including my mix, but I'm including it as the demo versions after the stuff that Lou sent me because it's so shitty. It's like, oh, you get the demos too, and like they weren't supposed to be the demos; they were supposed to be the fucking mix that I was going to send to labels.
yeah.
And the fucking mix I got back today from this dude is so good. Like the snare is like it's the same with Cody's stuff with slam, like making the ping snare sit just right. So it sounds like it's slightly over the guitars, but the guitars still kind of wrap around it.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you do that. I really want to do it, but I don't understand how you do
Yeah. I just figured out adding a stereo bus channel. I just figured out how to do that. And have you ever done that on a project
it.
where so what you do is you have your
All my
track.
music is going to sound better now just because this one
Yeah.
piece of
I
information.
I use FL Studio, right? So the
Okay,
way
cool.
my mixer's set up, it's like 1 through 20. So what I'll do
Yeah.
is I'll have my input going to my vocal chain, right? And then what I have is that chain running to a second chain, and
Okay.
the that chain I turn the volume down a little bit, and then I just put a fucking the only effect that I have running on that secondary chain is a stereo enhancer, or like a
Yeah.
stereo
Yeah.
where it kind of like makes it more full left and right.
Yeah.
And then I run that off of my vocal chain, but it kind of just like makes my sound a little bit more full. And
Yeah.
it's something I started. It was funny because I recorded the first part of the Fluids album, and as I started adding more and more shit to like my effects, and I'm sending the raw files to them, and they're doing the
Yeah.
final mixing. I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but it's amazing when they send
Yeah.
back the master.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they told me at the very end, like they said, "Hey, can you redo the first song that we recorded?" And I was like, "Why?" And they're like, "Oh, because your recording situation seemed to have gotten a lot better
Oh,
by
okay.
the end of the
Why didn't
album."
it?
and I was like, it's got to be the stereo enhancer bus
Yeah,
because that
yeah,
shit,
yeah.
yeah, it makes everything more full. And I actually
So,
learned that from doing guitar because
yeah,
I was trying to record some decent sounding guitar one time,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I did it actually. Noah from Bloodspawn showed me that trick from a
Okay, cool.
YouTube tutorial. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. You know who else has started doing YouTube tutorials? Is Floor from Corpse and Carnifloor, and he's the guy who mixed and mastered the Cryptbot album. He's mixed and mastered loads of like brutal death metal albums.
that album. So the first Crip Rot project that
So the
sounded,
first one was Cody.
yeah, that was fucking. Oh my god! I remember going into it because I bought your shirt before I even heard your music. I saw the long sleeve, the original long sleeve that came out with
Yeah,
that
man.
had the Frozen Screams on one arm, and then
Yeah,
so I ordered that before I even listened to your projects. It just looked cool, and then when I did listen to it, I was like, holy shit! Because there's a lot of
yeah,
death metal where like you can't really wrap your head around it. The first couple listens, but
yeah.
your project instantly clicked. You know what I mean? Like when I
Cool.
listened to it, it was, and it's funny
Yeah,
because you have a perfect blend of like slamminess, but
yeah,
it's death metal. It's not
yeah,
slam.
yeah. There's an
You
old schoolness to everything I do, though. I think.
yeah, even Blood Rage, dude. It's
Yeah,
literally like it's very similar, but Blood Rage, you hear it. It's a different vibe that you have because you guys do the synths on there, and it
yeah,
literally like you look at the cover of this, and it is everything that you expect it to be when you listen to it. When you pop it in and you listen to it, it does justice. It perfectly accompanies the imagery you provide with it. And I think Cryptrot does the same fucking thing. Like, so how did it feel? I didn't even ask you this question. Now, I'm a huge fucking fan of Joe. I love his work. The Trenchfoot project that just came out,
yeah,
I was blown away when I found out that it was one dude, and I don't know how he does it
yeah, yeah.
with a foot, with his foot condition. It really just blew my mind that he can do all that. Now, just
Wait,
because
Joe, I was like, wait, what? I
because Trenchfoot.
was like, dude, what? Like for a second, I was like, did he name that band after his foot condition? That's fucked up. I thought that was like some shit from World War II. I was like, how's he got that? He just lives in Liverpool. It's not that bad, I
I
think.
commented that when the project came out in the comments, I was like, it's so amazing that this boy can play this with his foot condition,
Yeah.
and they liked it. I was dying, but yeah, no, fucking, how did it feel? Did you know him before or after you heard his projects?
So I think it was like, so the first one we did, it took me about a year just to get anywhere with Blood Rage. I think like in the first lockdown, like 2019, I started writing for the main DP, and then once I'd done that, I was like, oh, it's not old school enough. I need to do something more Cannibal Corpse like old school. So I wrote the Blood Rage stuff, and I gave it to oh, God, what's his name? Oh, I wish I had my phone on me. I can't even remember the fucking guy's name. I feel bad. I have to edit this bit out where I forget this guy's name for a sec. Uh, fuck.
Dude, I do it all the
Criminalist, but
time. I forgot
yeah,
Tim's name from Hormigaunt one time after we talked for like 6 hours, and I felt like a douchebag. I was like, "Fuck, I forgot his name." I was like the
it's like there's
Hormigaunt
something,
guy.
it's being on the spot. You just forget people's fucking names, don't
Yeah.
you? Anyway, so yeah, so I gave it to this guy who's in a band on Sewer Rot, and he was going to do vocals. But that band were just taking off at the time, and they were just finishing a recording, and they just got on Sewer Rot, and their stuff was coming out, so he didn't have time to do it. And I spent about a year. El, go downstairs. Sorry, my dog's running.
Was it Charnel
Ellie,
Grounds
it
or
would no.
Gut
Oh,
Void?
dude, that's fucking. Charles Grounds is amazing. No, it wasn't. I can't remember what the band is called.
I
What's the
have
band?
like every Sewer Rot release right behind me. Who fuck
They're
uh
from Chicago.
Oxygen Destroyer.
No,
Um, fuck. I literally like
I can picture his
Cryptum.
face, but I can't think of his name. What?
Cryptum.
No, it's not Crypto.
Damn. Yeah, they got solid
Fuck's sake.
fucking releases. They're really good. I love Sewer Rut.
Yeah, Surah are awesome, man. Like Kyle, like being in Maimed with Kyle and him doing um the artwork and stuff for Surah is cool too because we know we kind of got somewhere to release things. You know what I mean? Like we know that like they'll probably put out our stuff.
Yeah.
Gold Embrace, that's the fucking band.
Gordon Brace, yes. Oh, dude, their demo was fucking nuts.
Anthony, man, Anthony Crisanti, that's the fucking guy's name. So lovely guy. Uh, sorry to him that I fucking forgot his name for ages.
That's all
And
good.
so Anthony from Gordon Brace, right, was going to do vocals on it, and then he didn't have time to do it. So then I was like back to square one. I had these songs with guitar and bass and everything recorded, couldn't do anything with it. And then I hit up Philip because he had done Putrid and Demoted.
Oh, okay.
Um, so he sounds so much like Barnes on like Butcher to Birth. I was like this guy, you
Chris
know,
fucking
because like
Barnes. Oh
so
wait,
I
no, that's
messaged him and then yeah he yeah so I messaged him and he was up for it. So the Welcome to Crimson Pines release was just me and Philip Garland from Demoted and Putrid, and then when it came time to do like the newer stuff, like I had some split songs and I was writing some more stuff. He couldn't do it because similar story, like Putrid was doing more gigs, he was doing more live stuff, he couldn't commit to time anymore. And I had heard Trenchfoot and really liked it. I bought both his tapes.
yeah,
So I just messaged him just on the off chance, man. Like, I I'd spoke to him a few times, maybe just about like artwork and maybe about mixing and stuff, just like normal stuff on Instagram. And then, yeah, messaged him and like, I run it past Ryan, who like plays in Seven Doors and he programs the drums in Blood Rage.
yeah,
And like, Joe was the only person that we thought of to replace Philip when Philip couldn't do it anymore. As soon as I said, "Oh, what if I asked Joe?" Ryan was just like, "Yeah, fucking ask him." And we asked him, he was up for it. Yeah, and it's been great, man. Like, fair play to Joe. Like, he's done a lot of recording in the last few months. Like we did that four-way split. We just did the split with Mortuary Ghoul. Like, we're doing, and like we've already got two new songs for another split that's coming out later this year with another band. So we're piling it on him pretty thick.
yeah,
Um, like the workload or whatever. And he's like, yeah, he's cool with it, man. Like, and I just love his voice, dude. Like, it makes it sound more British to me, like more UK.
yeah,
Um, it reminds me of like an old school like Napalm Deathy. I don't know. It gives him more like I don't think the music sounds like Bolt Thrower, but I really love Bolt Thrower,
yeah,
and like I feel like it gives him more like a '90s British old school vibe, which I really like. Like it adds something that wasn't there, I think.
yeah. Yeah, the fucking the new split that you just released is straight fire with Mortuary Ghoul. That
I'm really pleased with that, dude. And I think that's the best mixing I've done too. I've
yeah,
never really been happy with the sound on anything, but that one I think sounds pretty good. But then fucking love the way the dude from Mortuary Gold produces, dude. Like when you put it
yeah.
next to his shit, I'm like, oh, it's not dirty and heavy enough, man. It's clean. Because like I was like trying to get it to sound clean and like big, and then you put it next to like his production, and it's so grimy and like dirty and brutal. I'm like, oh man, I should have gone grimy with it. I went too clean.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's good. I like it when you have a release that does have some sort of like especially when it's a split project, when you have something that does that, where there is a
Yeah,
contrast from side A to side B,
yeah, yeah,
Like I heard one of the other splits that I just picked up recently is the Hexea and Wolf Skull Burn with Us, I think it's called, and it's
yeah.
actually a double album. It said it's a split, but it's fucking like two full lengths. Have you heard that one?
No, man.
Oh, dude. So they're both like black and roll bands, but
Oh, okay.
I would say that Wolf Skull's more like thrashy, type side, and then Hexea is more like black and roll, like midnight type. And
Cool. Yeah,
yeah, they did almost. It's pretty short because it's like it's black and roll, so the songs are kind of punky and like a lot shorter.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, they definitely both have a big contrast. And even though they're two bands that do the same genre, you flip that. I got it on record, so it's cool. You flip the
Mm,
record, and you're just like, whoa, like this is a whole fucking album by these guys, and it still
yeah, yeah,
flows
cool.
somewhat. And you guys
Yeah,
kept a good flow. Like it, I like it when bands do the same, like they do a similar theme. Like if you can follow the theme,
yeah. It
because
worked out. It worked out all right. Like with all the splits, we decided not to do the same storyline that we were doing with the Crimson Pine stuff, and only keep that for the albums.
mm-hmm.
So like I already know that Welcome to Crimson Pines is the start, and then the next album is Return to Crimson Pines, which is next year, and then probably the year after is Escape from Crimson Pines, which
uh,
in my mind is the final album. Like it might just be done then, because I've always thought like I'll make a trilogy of these slasher albums, basically.
yeah,
So, and maybe if I do a bunch more splits next year, I'll drag that Escape to a little bit later, just so the band's alive for a bit longer. But that's kind of my idea for it, is like to finish it after that.
you're gonna have to do a collector's box set at that point.
We,
You
dude,
know.
me and John from Frozen Screams have already talked about it. Like we've already talked about multiple tape collection things and little extras that come with it, and like um, so that he started doing the Frozen Scream subscribers thing now, where you can. I think all the slots are gone. I'm not sure, but there was like 25 slots, and you sign up, and every time he does a release, you get the release on any format that you decide, and you also get a bunch of extras and stuff. So the people who signed up for that just got sent a script that is a prequel to Welcome to Crimson Pines, which is a campfire story, a guy telling a bunch of counselors around a fire this campfire story, which gives you the backstory of the killer and why he's wearing the bag on his head and what happened to him. And
What?
John, like I wrote it, John printed it, he photocopied it a bunch of times to like degrade it and put all the grit and stuff on the paper.
Yeah,
He splat blood on it and everything. So like, and then he put it in like a dossier kind of evidence thing. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It filled in the form and stamped it with the frozen screams. I was so good, dude.
dude, that's so cool.
Like I remember telling him about Blood Rage. I think maybe once we'd done a Crypt Rock demo, so it was quite a while ago. Like it was maybe a year or yeah, maybe longer than that, man. And like I remember telling him about my idea for Blood Rage, and he was like, "I'll put it out. I don't even need to hear the music, just based on the name. I want to put it out, and I want to do a bunch of cool stuff with it." And I was like I knew he was the guy to do 80s horror releases with a bunch of cool collectible stuff.
100%. Yeah, he has a love for that type of that
Yeah,
type of stuff. Like he's the biggest Splatterhouse fan that I know.
yeah,
Like I know, to be honest, I don't know a lot of people that even know about Splatterhouse.
yeah,
Well, in death metal, of course, like I probably mention it. A lot of people in bands know a lot more than just regular people. I like work with or on the street, but yeah, Splatterhouse is has a special place in my heart, and he has an entire cabinet of the
yeah,
collectibles for Splatterhouse, and he's like, yeah, I got some of these from Japan, and like I get them online every once in a while when they pop up,
yeah.
and I sent him the Splatterhouse soundtrack because I think
Sick,
it's
man.
Enjoy the Ride Records putting it out. One of those like they do novelty releases, and I sent it
Yeah,
over to him, and he was like, I already got it pre-ordered. I was like, yeah,
yeah,
dude, like
sick.
that's sick, man. I love, yeah,
Yeah,
John has a real love for that type of aesthetic, and it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, man, I mean, he picked up Crip Rot. If I was working with you and I put out Crip Rot, dude, I just hearing the name Blood Rage and knowing what you're capable of, dude, with a project like that's a no brainer, to move forward with you, man. Like that is a
with the
killer.
criminal thing too. Like John was the only person I sent that to, man, and he said yes. And then like I love it when stuff like that happens. It's only really this year but I've struggled with like labels and getting stuff put out, which is why I'm starting my own label, which has ended up being cool anyway, because
Yeah.
it's fun to learn to make your own tapes and shit. I'm already doing all the design and layouts myself anyway for like most of my stuff, unless John does it. Um, but yeah, he was immediately like, yeah, sure, man, I'll do the demo, and then he even kicked in some money when we needed to pay for the mixing of the full length Rip
Yeah.
Rot album. Like, can't ask for a more solid guy, man. And like, I think the more people that I work with, the more I appreciate John Frozen Screams. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%, man. Yeah, he's definitely he linked me up with, his artists in the beginning cuz I was following him cuz I think I had made my no, I didn't even make my first purchase yet. Somehow I ended up in a live with him in a band. And then I messaged him and I was like, "Hey man," I was like, you mind if I interview some of your bands?" Oh, I interviewed Weeping. That was how I got
Okay,
in
yeah,
contact with him. Yeah, because I bought the Weeping record that Night Shift merch did. And that was how I first heard of Weeping. And then I was like, "Oh, this is out on Frozen Screams." I hadn't heard of that label. And then I checked him out and I was like, "Holy shit, his he has like some of the sickest stuff." And I did not collect cassette tapes. I was not into cassettes at all. And I thought,
neither was I before I started putting them out, man. I bought the shit
yeah,
to play my own tapes, and then I was like, I'll only get black metal. All I'm allowed to get is black metal because I was really into underground raw black metal, right? So I started getting a massive collection of dungeon synth and black metal,
yes,
but I wouldn't let myself get death metal because I knew if I did, then I would like have to have this. I would have to, you know what I mean?
yep.
Like I didn't last long though. It must have lasted about a year of collecting dungeon synth and black metal before I was like, I don't know, just started fucking voraciously buying death metal tapes. And you feel like because they're cheap, it's okay, but
Yep.
then you buy loads all the time, so it's probably not the best.
Yeah,
Not
I got
the best for the wallet.
right behind me. I got I think that's 200. Yeah, I got 200 tapes behind me on that wall.
Yeah,
And
man.
that's
Yeah, I can't
all
wait to get proper shelves and put all my shit. Like, I'm staying at my girlfriend's house at the moment. All I got is like this small amount of tapes behind me.
I had
Can't
that.
wait to get shelves and display it, man.
Yes, yes, yeah. They have them online. They're pretty cheap. They're like $50. These ones were $50 each, and then they have the individual slots, which is cool.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about it. And yeah, but I actually got gifted. I got them gifted. My mom gave them to me for Christmas. She was
Oh,
like, "Hey,
cool.
you put all your tapes up somewhere," and I was like, "Sick!" Like,
Yeah, that's
And now I
awesome.
gotta buy more. I. It's funny because when I first got these, I only had the first one full. I had like 110 tapes, and then within the
Yeah.
last 4 months, I've almost filled up the
Yeah.
entire bottom one, just
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
now I have to fill in the gaps. I'm like
Yeah.
obsessively.
Yeah. 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 I do. I do. I think though, like, I have to collect some in. Like, when I was sampling and making beats, I was collecting vinyl. I was buying like jazz and like weird, weird groove stuff and like just weird like world music to sample and stuff. And like I was collecting stuff on what's the fucking Now Again? It was like this dude Egon that worked for Stone's Throw,
Yeah,
and he had this label that put out all this sick like weird 70s. It would be like garage rock from Japan or like psychedelic stuff from like Taiwan or Thailand or whatever. It'd just be like really random cool bands that you never heard of. And like I collected that for years, sold on my vinyl collection, and now I'm fully into collecting tapes again.
yeah,
And now I'm into like making tapes and dubbing tapes. I'm always looking for cool tapes or like lots I can buy that I can use for the label or whatever, and like tape dubbing machines. Just like it's always a rabbit hole I'm in
yep.
that like takes all my time and money.
Yeah, dude, it's a trip. Like I didn't even know about tape traders like until I
Yeah,
was talking to Uncle Ken about it, and he was like, "Yeah, back in the day there was no internet." He's like, "We would fucking put out like ads in magazines and zines and shit, and say, 'Hey, I have these. Do you want to trade with me on this shit?'" And
yeah,
like,
this Coven book, man,
yeah,
from the dude who did Razorback
oh,
Records.
that's sick.
It's like yeah, it's all like there's like loads of old school death metal shit in there. There's like a zine that he did when he was like a teenager,
Yeah,
but he interviewed loads of sick bands. and there's lists in here of like there's like tape trading lists in here, so you can see what people were trading back in the day. And
That's
cool, man.
crazy.
It's
Where'd
really
you get
cool.
that at? Did it is that like a re
Yeah, it's just a collection that
yeah.
Razorback just put out.
Oh, no
It's from
shit.
90 to 92. I bought it off Amazon, dude, because I messaged him and like he's got it in America on their store, but like obviously I couldn't get it here, so yeah, I just bought it from Amazon.
Oh, I'm gonna check that out, man, because I am getting big into zines now because
Yeah, me
I
too,
I
man.
was just in this magazine. Check this shit out. I was so stoked about this, man. The newest issue of Noxious Ruin.
Oh,
Fucking
fucking awesome.
yeah, I'm in it in the or I put an ad in
Yeah.
there for my website.
Nice, man. That's
Yeah,
great.
they threw me in. I was like, I was so juiced about that because I hit him up super late. Brian from Noxious Ruin.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hit him up like on short notice. I was like, hey, I know the next Noxious Ruin's out like in like 15 days. Is there a way I
yeah.
can like do an ad in there? And he was like, just send it over to me. I'll put you in, man. And I was like, right
Oh,
on.
that's cool, man.
Yeah, I love
It's
Noxious
such
Ruin.
well put together magazines, isn't it? And the same with his releases, like the like fold out
Oh,
cases that he's doing. Oh my God. Like the
yeah.
one he put up the other day, there's like so much stuff with it, dude. I'm just like, oh my God.
Dude, I haven't been keeping up because I think the last I did do a couple purchases this last week. I bought from Gurgling Gore. I bought the Sanctuarium T-shirt and cassette,
Oh, sick.
and then
Dude, I listened to the stream of that the other day. It was so fucking good,
I haven't
man.
heard it yet.
Oh, it's proper good. It's like a like kind of a spectral voice kind of vibe or whatever, but like
Yeah,
in the 90s,
it's like a
Or like
doom. It's like one
what's
of
that
those
fucking what's that band fuck. Do you know Dissonant Tapes?
dissonant tapes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
He put out like he puts out a lot of cool like brutal stuff or whatever, but he put out a Doom collection recently. I can't think what the band is called, but they're fucking awesome. The one album that I really liked was like a cloaked person in like cemetery or something. I'll have to look it up, man, so I can tell you what it's.
It's not the internal bleeding, is it? Let me
No, it
see.
was like a doomy. It was like a doomy thing.
Let me see.
Oh,
He put out severe torture, photopsy.
yeah, I listened to that the other day. There's some crazy highs on that, man. It's cool as fuck, but there's some wild highs on it. I was just expecting it to be like gore grind,
Yeah,
but it's like, yeah, there's some mad fucking vocals on that one.
master
Fuck.
on the seventh day.
It was somebody.
Oh, it was the pack. It was a full pack. Was it the Mithras 4 pack?
Nah, it was like a. Wait, I'll find it now. I found the funeral doom section. I love that most of this podcast is us just googling shit that we can't remember.
It's all good.
Evoken, man, Evoken.
Evoking.
Yeah, that's
Let
what
me
it was.
see. Is everything in?
Really good. And it kind of like they have that kind of creepy note, slow, like semi-clean, creepy notes over the top of really heavy doom, similar to that gurgling gore release you're on about.
Yeah.
I think that evoking stuff I found because of the guy from Worm recommending a bunch of like kind of funeral doom and like creepy weird doom stuff. And
Ah, I see it right here.
there was one album there I listened to that was fucking yeah, it was sick. So if
Which
you like that
one?
new good, check that out too. Weirdly, the cover that I think it's Atramores, but I think it's got a
Ah,
different
right
cover
here.
here to what I'm seeing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a listen, man. I fucking love some Doom. Yeah,
Yeah, it's cool, man.
that's why I like that Sanctuarium because I have their demo from last year, and it was funny
Yeah,
because I messaged Big Daddy Gore and I was like, "Yo, man," I was like, "Just wanted to say thanks for that Sanctuarium. I'm surprised. I'm glad that that shit's out for people to find it because I really like it." And he said, "Oh, if you like the demo." just wait till the full length comes out next year. I
Cool.
was like, what? The fucking full length? And yeah, now it's on
So
its way. I can't wait to listen to it. It's only 4 tracks, but it's like 30 minutes, you know? And
yeah,
I I don't like projects that have too long of songs on them, like that Sleep, for example.
yeah,
That shit puts me to sleep. You know what I
yeah.
mean? But Sleep's more like a fucking jam band. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah,
like
the first album, right? What's the
Dope Smoker.
Holy Mountain, isn't it? It just sounds like kind of like a garage bandy
It just
type thing. And then I think Dope Smoker was the super long one. It was like 50 minutes or whatever.
yeah, I was
But their
dry.
new stuff was cool too.
Yeah, they're I mean they're a cool band. You know, I'm not knocking on Sleep too much, but that one album, Dope Smoker, was way too
Dope
long
Smoker,
for
yeah.
me. I'm like,
Do you know the last time I listened to that, I was tripping. I took some in that I thought, I can't even remember what it was called, what I took, but I took some in that I thought was DMT, but it wasn't DMT. So I was just in this crazy, I was just in this, we just listened to loads of Electric Wizard. And then for some reason, like as I was starting to come back to reality a little bit, I was like, Dope Smoker, you got to hear this song. It's 50 minutes long.
It's 50 minutes long. One song. That's
So,
right. It's one fucking track.
you know,
That's what got me. I'm like, dude,
like in my mind, it was like a really epic thing, but like in reality, it was just like me and my girlfriend and a dog just listening to a 50-minute song, just be like, oh.
just dun dun like
Yeah,
for 50 minutes. That's
yeah,
yeah. It's a cool. I mean, the first time you hear it, you know, like when you first discover that band, you listen to it, like like I can't knock Sleep. Sleep is
yeah.
like, you know, I watched a video. What was it? The glacier or the iceberg of doom metal or some shit. And they talk
Okay,
about
yeah,
like the first, you know, and then they say I think it's like tier 3 or 4, and it says drug metal,
okay,
you know, drug doom metal,
yeah,
stoner doom metal. That's what it is. And then
yeah,
you know, Sleeps in there, and it's like, yeah, this is a staple. You have to have that when you're before you get
yeah,
deeper, and like it's
yeah.
they did a really cool record of it too that had weed actually pressed inside of it, like weed
Oh,
leaves
no
were
way.
pressed in it.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And there wasn't
That's
it's funny because there was another band that did a pressing with their own piss in the record.
cool.
Yeah. And what I thought, I was talking to somebody that, you know, I was talking to somebody about this Fluids release because we're doing a full length album. I don't know who's doing it or how it's going to get put out. I know it's going to be put out probably within the next year. It will be out. But I was like, how cool would it be to have a record if there is a record with like my poop in it? Like it's fluids.
I didn't think you were gonna go with poop, man. I thought you were
Yeah,
gonna go.
go poop and
I
blood,
think
maybe
can't
blood
remember
and
the
poop.
records. Cool.
You know, I'll eat a bunch of fucking Doritos and just, you know, for like 3 days. No, that's so bad.
I mean, if there was any band that was gonna sell things with poop on, Fluids is the band. Like I remember, like I was wearing a t-shirt. It's like the blue logo and then like a bunch of mashed up faces or whatever. It's the what's the dude called? Adam Medford, is it? The guy who does the cool like gore collages.
Yeah.
He did like the Fluids artwork, right? And I was wearing a t-shirt of it, and I was at a gig, and this girl was like, "Who the fuck did she think it was?" Oh no, she thought it was Fulci. So she like stopped me and was like, "Oh, that's really cool. Is that a Fulci shirt?" And I was like, "Oh no." She was like, "Who is it?" And I was like, "Fluids." And she went, "Oh, gross." Just said the name, dude.
Yeah.
Like that's when you know you got a good name when like random girls just like, "Oh, fuck."
People are grossed out by the name. And then when you ask
Amazing.
people, like, you know, just random people that you don't even know if they like them or not or know them, you're like, "Hey, do you like fluids?" It's like it just sounds wrong asking that question.
You, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that shit was nuts, man. I'm shocked that, you know, that thing came to fruition, the fucking album. Like it was just bizarre. At right time, right place type thing, you know, and then
yeah. That's gonna be sick, man. I can't wait to hear it. It's gonna be fucking awesome.
yeah, yeah, I'm
It's
pumped
gonna be,
up, man. And I can't wait to hear more fucking Blood Rage, dude. Like I know you just did a release right now, But do you have
Yeah.
in the pipeline? You said you got a lot of stuff in the pipeline,
Yeah.
pretty
So
much.
so Ryan started writing for Blood Rage as well now, which is cool because like up until now I've written everything. So now we're going to expand it a little bit because like Joe started playing solos, Ryan started playing solos as well. Like that's why you'll notice on the new releases they credit his lead guitar as well because I fucking suck at solos and kind of hate solos anyway. Like I like them in music, but I don't really want to play them. I just really like riffs.
Yeah.
So yeah, now that they've started like ripping on stuff, we spoke about it last week and we were like, oh yeah, you should start writing stuff too. So Ryan's writing two new songs at the moment for a split with another band, which is going to come out later this year. Um, but we're trying to start out playing live because I haven't done any of these bands live yet. I haven't played live since I was 2021 or something. Like it's been a while. So um, yeah, we're looking at trying to play live as well. I think we've got one gig sorted, like Kenny from Brain Bath has sorted out. So it's in Glasgow in January next year. Um, I can't remember who's playing all together. I know Vulgar Dissection are playing. They're fucking cool. Consecration, which is Liam's band. He's the Death Doom Metalhead on YouTube.
Yeah.
He's fucking great, dude. He buys all my stuff. I send him shit all the time. His band's playing, so I get to meet him in person, which is cool. So yeah, so we're gonna start trying to gear up to do live stuff. I'm gonna play bass. Ryan's gonna play guitar. Joe's gonna do vocals, and we're gonna do Fulci style and use a laptop with the drums on to start with, unless we can find a drummer kind of between now and like the end of the year. Um, so yeah, I think that's going to be our main focus is like trying to start playing live again, getting the stuff we need, and start gigging. And then next year, then we're going to do the second album, which I've already written. I think I've got like 5 songs for it, but we're going to try and do it kind of different and take our time, do it slower. I don't do anything slow, man. Like I do everything like really fast and like I always write 10 things at once. I'm always doing loads of projects at once and like usually like any song that you listen to on anything that I've written it in a few hours. I've recorded both guitar tracks straight away. Then I've got the bass out and done the bass before I forget it. And then after that I'll do like drums or whatever, like Flax songs now I'm doing in a morning, doing a song.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I'm trying to like keep my ADHD at bay and fucking slow down enough to like I don't know, like decide on parts and like work out what's the best thing to do and where stuff should sit or whatever, rather than what I normally do, which is just like a bunch of stuff flows out and I just record it before I forget it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I am, man. I gotta knock shit out, or else it
Yeah,
just
I
sits
do.
on the back burner,
Yeah,
for me.
okay. I just can't not do stuff. Like I have to be. That's why I do so many projects at the same time all the time because I just get really bored and like because my job is the music video thing. It'll be like I'll work for like 2 or 3 days. I'll be filming. I'll be editing for a couple of weeks. But in between that, like I don't have to go. Like I'm lucky because I don't have to go to a normal job. You know what I mean? I don't have to do that. So I've got time, and like I don't have kids or whatever.
Yeah.
So I have got time to like sit around and record
Yeah. Utilize
one live
that time, man.
project.
I had no idea how much
Yeah,
fucking no time I would have after having a kid. Like
yeah,
before I used to be able to do this kind of stuff like any day of the week. And
yeah,
like now I'm like, okay, now I have a fucking schedule and
yeah, yeah.
it sucks for me because it's like this I mean, dude, I did a 24-hour like stream that I had to edit
Wow.
together. That was difficult. It was called the Main Vizzle channel. And like before I had my kid, I can do shit like that, like stay up for 2 days
Yeah,
straight editing, and then like now I'm like
yeah.
I do that. I almost like killed myself. I had a bloody nose for like 3 days after doing that. It
Wow.
was
Fuck.
weird. I think I raised my blood pressure so fucking high from stress about it. And it's
Oh,
funny because
shit.
it's like something like it's not like my career or anything. Like I just do it on the side, for fun.
Yeah.
And I was like taking it seriously,
I
like,
just,
oh, I gotta do this. I
yeah,
promised it. Everyone cares on Instagram.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
four people tuned in. Like,
yeah,
like, like, yes, I did it for them.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
fuck. But
That's what I do with all this music stuff, man. Is I take it, I literally work at it like a job, dude. Like today, I start, and yesterday, man. Like I started at like 8:30 in the morning. I'll be like sorting out design stuff. I was sorting out label stuff all day today. I'm like planning stuff. I was working out the tapes. I'm like messaging people about stuff. I'm sorting out logistic things, whatever. I'll literally, because I'm so used to working a job anyway, like a normal job. I think I approach like even music, I just approach in that way, or music videos I approach, and I just do it like a normal job anyway. Like sometimes I have to remind myself, like this is your fucking hobby. You don't have to finish. Like today, I was finishing all the tape labels for every release I'm going to do in the next like 4 or 5 months.
yeah,
I don't need to do that. Do you know what I mean? I just need to do labels for the release I'm doing in June. Like I
yep,
could just take it easy. I don't, but I'm like, no, I'll do all the labels. Like
yep,
I, I,
yeah.
I can't stop myself from doing it sometimes, man.
Yeah, and then that's when you have momentum too. Like that's my thing. It's like if I
Yeah,
don't get at it when I have momentum, then I start procrastinating on things. Like
yeah,
big time. Like I fucking
yeah, yeah,
I've been working on this project. It was funny because we had the turnaround. It was like every day almost. I was getting a track, finishing a track, sending a track, changing this on a doing this, and then I hit
yeah,
this point where it wasn't just getting sick, but it was also moving. All sorts of shit happened at the same time, and it's to the point where I'm like, fuck. When I do have downtime, I'm like, I need to fucking sleep or I need to rest, and I can't.
yeah,
That the other thing is too when I would sit down after taking a break, having the being in the right mindset to write this kind of shit. Like I have to be in
yeah,
the right mindset. I can't do it when I'm too stressed out, from
yeah,
regular shit, and then I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
do it when I'm like I feel like I have to have something. There was like a track I wrote the entire thing, recorded the whole thing, and I'm like, you know what, this doesn't even sit right with me. Like I'm
yeah,
not even gonna send this. Trash the entire fucking thing and had to come back
yeah,
to it weeks later with something better and something good
yeah,
actually came out of
yeah,
that,
yeah.
you know.
I got loads of songs, man, that I just don't do anything with. Like and the opposite will happen. Like I do a black metal thing. I've been making dungeon synth for the last like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I'll make a song every couple of months and I won't touch it again. And like I've gone through everything I've got, and I've got like an hour of music that I can put out as a dungeon synth album. But I wasn't, I don't know, I just wasn't like confident enough to put it out before because I felt like it was too nerdy or whatever. But now I'm like,
Oh
"Oh,
man.
fine, I'll just put it out. Who gives a shit?"
Yeah.
So now I'm like working on this whole release with all this music I've done like 2, 3 years ago and stuff, and it's come out good. But then similarly, I'll go back through files and I'll look for stuff. Like guaranteed that the 5 songs I've got for the new Bloodridge album, I'll listen to them next year and just be like, ah, oh, fuck those, man. I'll just do something better now. You know what I mean? Like that's why I'm enjoying fucking Go Grind so much because I don't have to think about it. It's like
Yeah.
so short and like the challenge for me with writing that kind of stuff for the Flax album and everything is trying to write stuff that's short, dude, without loads of riffs in. Because I always write riffs and I always write like sections.
Yeah.
So trying to make a 40-second blur of music like grind is a lot of the time. It's quite hard when you're used to writing like hooky things or having things that repeat or so it's I've even started like trying to just program crazy drums. I'll sit down and I'll program drums in patterns. I'll make them as crazy as I can, and then I won't allow myself to change them. And I'll record to those drums. So I'll just play those drums on a loop, and then I'll like come up with a riff, and I'll play loads of different riffs to it until one sits right, and then I'll record that. And I won't allow myself to change the drums. So like it's completely backwards to how I would normally write, which is like write a riff and then record it, do
Yeah.
the drums later, kind of thing. It's cool to find new ways to challenge yourself when you've been recording music for a while too. I think.
Yeah. 100%. You're always going to have progression constantly. Your shit's always going to be getting better and better, and what doing approaching it completely different like that is it kind of like keeps it fresh, and you never know what you're going to find as a different technique that's going to, bring you to the next level as a musician.
Yeah, it's weird. It like forces me to play differently.
Yeah.
But like also like weirdly, like when I used to play guitar when I was younger, I used to really like necrophagist and I used to be sweeping and tapping and I used to have like you know what I mean? Like I used to really like Um, like remember the Faceless Planetary Duality? Do you remember when that came out?
No, that's
So like it was on Sumerian back in the day, and like the Faceless were like death Corey, but then Planetary Duality was like this weird kind of proggy album, and the guitarist was doing loads of like cool stuff.
yeah.
So I kind of learned that it was kind of like Born of Osiris, but with less breakdowns and shit.
Oh, okay, okay.
Or like Veil of Mayor or something. It was like that, but like less chuggy and more like kind of proggy and tech. And I kind of got really into that stuff and into that rabbit hole when I was younger. And since I've come back to playing guitar again, I almost want to keep it as simple as I can. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I sometimes I find myself doing more technical stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like I've almost got this thing about it where like I want it to just be brutal and really like simple and really easy to like digest. You know, I don't want to be tech with it or anything, which is why I leave it to those guys to do the leads and shit. Apart from catchy leads, like I like kind of hooky leads, like the way cerebral rock, like the way they do like dirty kind of leads with loads of chorus and delay and stuff on over their choruses. The new maimed album is going to be like that.
Oh, okay.
Um, this is probably super confusing for people who don't know the bands that I'm
Yeah.
in, but like yeah. So after doing the main demo a few years ago, we've finished an album now. It's 9 tracks.
Damn.
We've just
That's I was gonna get into that. That's
yeah.
fucking awesome, man. I
So
love
it's
that.
done. The artwork's done. It's fucking awesome. Jason Barnett did it. Did like the mural artwork, and he's done loads of fucking cool shit. He's in a cool band as well. I can't fucking remember what they're called, obviously, but they're good too. Um, so that's finished now. We're just gonna get somebody to mix it, and we've had a couple of people. Surprisingly, we've had a couple of people like want to mix it. We're like good, like quite big, like death metal people or like brutal death metal people. So we're gonna decide who's gonna mix it soon and send that off, and that's hopefully gonna be out at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But like I wouldn't like I guess it would be like on Sewer Rot again, but maybe on another label as well. We might
Wh-
try and do it buying and stuff.
When you're at that point in your process, when you're through the catharsis of recording and you have your project and it's completely done, and I'm in this situation right now. That's why I'm asking this. How do you feel when you're getting to the point where you're going to start shopping and you're like, okay, now it's like, I feel like that is the most anxiety inducing part about doing anything because you're like, fuck, now I'm going to put this thing out to the world and I want to do it the best way
Yeah,
possible. And it's
yeah,
like, there's anxiety that goes into, my recording sessions, it goes into all of that,
yeah.
creating the project, just making sure like in my situation, like working with these guys, I don't want to disappoint them because of the shit that they've
Yeah,
done,
I would feel that pressure. I
you
think if
know.
I was going to do a split with fluids, I definitely feel the pressure too. Like if I did a split with somebody, I don't know, I kind of felt it with the Mortuary Ghoul project because I really liked his release that he did last year. I really liked Dismal Fate as well as a label. And I was like, if I'm going to do something with these guys, it's got to be good kind of thing. And like,
Yeah.
he hit me up, fucking hell, man. It was the end of last year about doing that split. Like, it's literally taken us until now to like finish the music and, be able to get it out just because it took us so long to record and finish the songs and stuff. Um, but I did kind of feel pressure with that one. But like usually when I do the music, I don't feel any pressure because I'm just in my own zone anyway.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, there is something about sending it to labels and hoping that you're going to get it out with the labels you want or whatever it is. And then I've done it today. Like I finished my Mass Killings project today, the one I mentioned earlier that Lou mixed. I sent it to some labels today, and I think like I didn't feel anxiety at all. I just felt like, yeah, this is really fucking good. But I was on the high from listening to the mix for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I listened to the mix a couple of times. I listened to it on headphones a couple of times. Um, and then I immediately sent it to labels, and I was like, "Yeah, this is fucking great." Like, I don't know how I feel about it afterwards, but like, I think because I was riding that high, I wasn't too worried about it. And
Yeah.
also now I've got a safety net of knowing I'm going to do my own tapes anyway. So even if nobody puts it out for America or Europe, at least I can just do tapes and ship them to everybody. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think that's given me a bit of a like safety net or whatever. Where I know it is going to come out and it won't just be digital or whatever.
Yeah, that's how I kind of feel too, because it's like I know no matter what, like I'm always gonna have my label too to like
Yeah,
have
you
a
yeah,
backup,
you can do
you know. But the thing though, it's like with fluids, it's like fuck, dude, like what do we do? You know, like I'm just like I I don't know because it's a hip hop album too. That's the other thing. So it's like death metal labels necessarily. It's like you send them to a death metal label, they really don't. Because I tried to shop a hip hop album before. Um, I did a hyper pop album that came out like a year ago too, and when I shopped it around, everybody was like, "This is cool," but I don't know any labels that would put this kind of project out because it's not
yeah,
death metal, and I'm like, "Fuck!"
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's a weird place to be in. It's a weird position, but when
It's
I
weird to
had
be in a grey area musically as well, isn't it? Like between things. Like that's happened to me now with Flax
yeah
for the first time. Because like you said, everything else I've done, I feel like you can look at and you can see the name and you can work out what it is. And hopefully the music delivers kind of what you expect it to be, or it's at least as entertaining as the cover makes it look. But with Flax, like I've tried to make Gore Grind,
yeah
but everyone's just been like, oh, this is like somebody said the other day, like, oh, it's nice to see a slam band that does something interesting with sound. And everyone's just calling it slam, right?
you're
So I'm
like
like, fuck, I just made another brutal death metal album. I thought I was making something just because I put D beats in it.
yeah
In my mind, I'm like, no, this is gore grind. But like, I think I've made such a weird version of it that like all the gore grind labels I've sent it to have turned it down.
yeah
And all the death metal labels I've sent it to have said, oh no, we don't really want to do gore grind.
yep.
But then the brutal, I tried sending it to like brutal death metal
I was
slam
just about to
label.
say that's where you
They're like,
gotta
no, we don't do gore grind. And I'm like, how is it gore grind to some people in slams? Like, I don't even know what I've
yeah
made now. You know what I mean? It's just
yeah.
fucking weird.
Have you tried Brutal Mind and Fat Tub of Lard?
No, I haven't tried Larry. I might try Larry though,
I
because
think that project falls in line kind of with what they do.
yeah. Did you see the Fatuous Rump video that he put out that was like all animated and crazy?
Yes, that was so
Dude, how
cool.
fucking good was that, man? That like that's fucking what animation should be used for.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Fucking Larry's featured on my new album or on the new album we
Oh,
did.
sick, dude.
Yeah, his
Man, he was so good about doing the Crypt Rock album too. Like,
yeah.
he didn't ask me for anything. I sent him the song, which is the last song on the album, and he recorded the entire song. Like, I
He
told him, look, here's the time code for your bit. He said, okay, boss, no worries, and then recorded
the
the
whole thing.
entire song. And I was like, fuck, dude, like, this is
he
awesome.
he
So
did
I ended up making it like a duet by editing Larry's bits with Kyle's bits singing to make it this like duet that we ended up with.
yeah.
He was so good, man.
Yeah, he did the same exact thing. We sent him this thing, and he came back on it, going the whole from beginning to end. And then
Yeah, yeah.
we ended up cutting out. There was one part that I really liked that stuck out, because he rapped the whole fucking
Oh,
thing.
no way.
Yeah, so there was a part where he goes, "My dad was a donor. He's a donor with a boner," and I cut that and I made it the hook for the song, and I
Sick.
was like, "This is it. This is
Yeah,
perfect."
that's
Fucking
fucking awesome. Dude, what a legend, man. Such a
yeah.
cool guy.
He's badass. I thought he was gonna come on and scream and everything, like we would be
Yeah.
able to get gutturals and all that shit. And yeah, no, he fucking spit bars on the whole thing, talking
Dude,
about
the way Larry is with his releases is how I'd want to be with my releases. Like, I know that somebody was like, I saw a YouTube comment, somebody was like, oh, it's just another one of those Larry Wang bands. And I was like, dude, that's what makes him fucking awesome.
yep,
Is the Larry Wang bands, and you go on his like metal archives and it's just da 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 da, like that's
yep,
one day I'd love people to be like, oh, that fucking it's one of those Tom Hughes bands, you know what I mean? And it's
yep,
all these just beautiful bands, just loads of them, but like way more than any human should be doing.
yep. Just keep the ball rolling, man. You'll get there
And there's
like that.
Madlib too, like talking about hip hop stuff, the way Madlib produces,
Yep,
how much he produces, and how often he makes music. Like it's also like I can't do anything by halves. I have to do it to an extreme anyway. That's why I like extreme music, I guess, because like once I started doing Flax in a period of like I think it was about a month or 5 weeks, I had done a full 14 track album and two splits. And it's like
Yeah.
it was just more than, you know what I mean? Like I went from a 3-track demo to two splits and a full album in like, and I swear it was like a month, dude. It was just like, right, this is what I'm doing, ba 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 ba, every day, you know?
Yeah, when you're like in that zone, man, and you can capture it and just keep it fucking rolling, like that's you got to
Yeah,
capitalize on it, dude. You have to. Yeah, that's
yeah.
the
It's
best.
cool having all these different like avenues to write within metal. Anyway, that's what's cool about metal is like how varied it is, isn't it? Because like whatever mood I'm in, like this week, I haven't recorded anything. You know, I just haven't felt it. But like whether I'm feeling like black metal or grind or death metal or something old school or something brutal or whatever, I've got like that's what I'm trying to create with all these bands is like avenues for all my different moods basically.
Yeah,
So I can funnel my like extra energy into music for whatever I'm feeling at that time.
yeah, like
Same with
that's
Dungeon Synth. It's like if it's raining, you know, and it's like there's
yeah.
nothing going on and everything's quiet, feeling a bit sad, get a synth out,
Start
pretend
throwing
I'm
it.
wearing a cloak.
Yeah, that dungeon synth, man. Fucking you mentioned you mentioned Phantom Slaughter from Worm.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah.
was. I think he pulled out a bunch of dungeon synth from his like top 10 albums of last year.
Dude, yeah,
Yeah,
I
were you
watched that. It was
watching
on
that?
Ken's thing, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah, it was him and
Man, that was
Ken.
awesome. I fucking love Ken's channel. I'm so glad he's back on Instagram too.
Yes, dude. Yeah, I love him. I was actually just messaging him right before we started this because I'm sending him
Such a
some
great
stuff.
guy. And he premiered the Welcome to Crimson Pines for me as well, dude.
Hell yeah.
Like putting out something to have Ken put it on his channel was literally one of my proudest moments in metal, dude. I was just like,
Yeah, he is.
made me so happy.
There's so much music that I would have never heard about had it not been for him, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just so much like history about death metal, like, you know, him
yeah.
and Roy Fox too, like both of them.
Oh,
Whenever
okay,
they go live and I can hear them talk, Roy Fox
oh,
is
okay.
from Necroharmonic. You follow them?
Oh, well, okay,
Yeah, he does a podcast called Death Metal Podcast, and
okay.
he
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen it. It's on YouTube. Yeah,
yeah, he's cool, man. Like that, both of those guys together. Because it's funny, like with Roy, I'll mention a band. Like I'll mention a band, and Ken will be like, "Oh yeah, I have the fucking the original demo
original.
right here." And
I
then
bought
like,
it from a guitarist or whatever.
and Roy will be like, "Oh yeah, like I went on a drive, 45 minutes with that band. I mentioned the band Mythic. It's like that
Yeah,
Doom band with the three chicks in it." And
yeah,
he
yeah,
he was like, "Yeah, I went on like a 4 hour ride with them to go to a show one time, and happened to be I was hanging out with the guy that was dating one of them. I was like, what? Like what the
yeah.
fuck? Like everybody. He knows everybody. He
Yeah,
used to
yeah.
write people back in the day because they
Yeah,
didn't have the internet.
that's what was cool. That's what, like, I guess it's our equivalent of like Instagram messaging people in bands you like and stuff. But like, that's what reading this Coven's zine thing is so good, man. Like,
Yeah,
he's writing all these bands, dude. Like, fucking, he's writing Mortician and stuff in that time and getting sent things, and he's writing like Autopsy and stuff, and they're sending him bits. Like, can't imagine like how cool it would have been to just like get stuff in the mail and you didn't know what it was.
yeah,
Because like
yeah,
when I first started buying metal, I would just go to like I would go to HMV and I would go to this shop called Hitman in this town where I grew up, and it was just like this really shitty kind of little beige record shop. They had a fucking amazing metal section,
yeah,
and you would just go in and just pop like whatever the brutal covers were. You know what I mean? Like the most brutal cover is what you buy, or the most. I remember buying I think I bought Circle of Dead Children aren't even that good, but I bought the Circle of Dead Children album because I was just like, oh, that fucking name's awesome. That's how I found Pig Destroyer. It's like
yeah.
Agoraphobic Nosebleed. Like so much of the stuff that I bought when I was like 15, I just bought because it sounded crazy or it looked crazy. I do kind of miss that, man.
Yeah, that was the reason I started collecting vinyl was because I was
Mm,
like, you know what, I want to get the most, like unsettling covers that I could get,
yeah,
just have it big, like a big artwork piece of it,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
fucking, I'm pissed off because I actually, I think they still have a couple copies on Corpse Gristle, but they just re-released MTD from
Okay, yeah,
Devourment,
yeah.
yeah, and like
So
I got
they
it on.
cover the Wiener though.
Yep, dude. You know, I didn't like that album when I first saw it too, because I was like, man, I was like, I actually I muted Corpse Gristle last time because I hadn't even heard of Devourment. Yeah, like I fucking see it. I'm scrolling through the page, and I see the headless dude with his dong hanging out, and I was like, like I I don't want to see this shit. And I fucking what I did was I muted them because I was like I don't want to see this. And then a couple months later, like not even a couple months later, I want to say like I listened to Lipoma for the first time because Lipoma was another
Okay.
page. He followed me and I was like, oh man, this fucking artwork is,
What a
like
goal.
really
Yeah,
gross. I don't want to see this.
yeah,
And then I ended up listening to Lipoma, and he ended up being my second album of the year last
okay.
year. He was with Horrors of Pathology. That was one of the most
Yeah,
amazing, like gore grind because it's different. It's really different. And it was my
yeah, man.
gateway to gore grind. And then after that, I'm
Yeah,
like, dude, I used to go on rotten.com and all that shit. So what am I saying? Like, I
yeah,
don't want to look at that. Like, it's whatever. Like, it doesn't
yeah,
phase me. And
yeah,
what I started doing was buying more gore grind shit. Like, I had a little kick. And then I was like, brutal death metal too. Oh, I want to go get that, Devourment
yeah.
record now or cassette. And I fucking go on Corpse Crystal and it's completely sold out. And then um,
Uh,
I messaged him. I was like, "Hey, are you ever gonna get this again?" He said, "Yeah, I put them out every once in a while, but they sell out really quickly." And I was like,
yeah,
"Fuck! I wish I would have got it." So I bought it on CD because it was the only release he
yeah,
did, and then now he has it on
yeah.
vinyl, and I'm like, "Fuck! I just bought a Warflurch vinyl because I still haven't had that psychedelic realms of hell yet." So
Okay, yeah, yeah. I got the tape. It's sick.
yes, yeah. I'm like I wish I could just drop all the cash I want on all the shit that I need in my collection,
Yeah.
but like, what is it? Like Logan just got a Severed Survival from Autopsy,
Okay,
and I'm
cool.
like, I
Yeah,
fucking need that in my collection too.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I gotta pick and choose really with what I'm getting at this point.
Yeah, I'm finding it hard, dude, because I'm like I was the same with that Development album. Like I can't remember who got a tape. It might have been Lifeless Chasm, and Lifeless Chasm used to ship from the UK and America, and then they stopped shipping from the UK. They must have not, but they must have only been selling to me because they closed their UK store. And I don't know. I guess nobody was buying the shit, and now you have to get it from America. And like the same with Dissonant Tapes. I'll do a big Dissonant Tapes order every couple of months,
Yeah,
but then like they give each other tapes. So I'm like, I'm gonna buy something from Dissonant Tapes, but there's four things in my cart from Lifeless Chasm. I'm like, oh, a Lifeless Chasm gonna get a Mortal Decay reissue in a month's time, and I can get it from them, or shall I get it from him now? It's like a constant juggling thing with American tapes to try and get them in the UK.
yeah. It's so fucking difficult, man. Like, there's a tape. I don't know if you can get a copy of this for me out there, but it's Larvae, um, Acid Horror Cult. Have you
Dude,
heard that?
I bought it from Dry Cough, the guy who put out the Crypt Rot
You
album.
have it?
Yeah, I got it, dude. I bought it from Dry Cough like 2 weeks ago or something.
They finally put it out? Fuck. Yeah, I need to get a copy of that. I didn't know they put it out. So I ordered a copy from another label, and I
Oh,
won't.
so who did you get it from? What was the guy called you ordered it from?
I got it from Black Legion Records.
Oh, okay. So I got it. So the copy I've got is from Unholy Domain, which is Italy. But the guy I bought it from was fuck, what dude? Names so bad with names. What's the guy called? Um, I'll have to find it. I'll have to find it and send it to you after this. But I'm pretty sure he's still got copies too. And look how sick the print is on the tape.
Ah, dude, fuck. Dude, I love that project so much. I heard it on Death Madness. I want to say like last year, and I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
I was hooked because that voice that he does with the guitar is just so fucking
Dude,
cool.
do you know? I think it's I don't know if they're a couple or not, but it's just this one dude playing drums and then this lady doing guitars and vocals, man.
Oh, really? I didn't even know it was
Yeah,
a
two
lady
of them.
doing that.
Dude, yeah, there's a live session on YouTube with just the two of them, and it's fucking awesome. It's they filmed it really shitty and gross. You got to watch it, man. It's super good.
Ah, I gotta check it out, dude. Yeah, that Larvae band is fucking badass. I
Yeah, they're cool, man. Do you know, like, do you must know kind of about death metal vocals, right? I guess you would
Yeah,
have done death metal vocals at some point. Is she doing all inhales? Is that how she's getting that sound, do you think? Because it sounds like, do you
maybe.
think she's doing inhales?
I don't think I thought it was a dude, like
Mm,
So I really don't know. It could be. Uh, I don't know, man, because there are some women that do vocals that just sound gnarly as fuck. Like
yeah,
Hexea,
yeah,
I was talking about earlier. Like her vocals are
yeah,
fucking. They sound badass. And then I'll always remember, Arc Enemy.
yeah, yeah,
When I listen to Arc Enemy for the first time, I'm like, this has got to be the scariest looking lead vocalist that I've ever fucking heard. Like when I listened to it, I didn't know what the
yeah,
lead vocalist looked like. I'm like, I pictured like this big ass biker dude, just
yeah,
like
yeah,
like with like Satan horns. Like I'm just like,
yeah,
man, like
yeah.
yeah, this is terrifying. And then I take a look at the
Dude,
vocalist, and I'm like, what?
what was the fucking, Malika? Do you know her? I can't remember her name. I think she was in Pathology.
Mm
Did you hear Pathology when she was in the band?
mm.
Dude, she
No.
was fucking amazing. So she still does death metal now. Her name's Malika Sundaramurthy. Oh, she was in Abnormality. That's who she was in.
Abnormality.
Yeah, she was in Abnormality. But Pathology had a female singer for a while too, and that was fucking. She was amazing, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, that's crazy, and that makes sense too. Usually, some of the gnarliest vocals I hear, come out from a
Yeah,
woman
yeah,
vocalist. Yeah, they got the pipes, man. Like they fucking
yeah, yeah,
definitely
definitely.
kill that shit. Yeah. Wow, I didn't even know that, and it makes sense too, though. Whenever I find something that's really chilling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's cool because you'll listen to it again differently now. You're like,
Yeah.
okay,
Like, oh yeah,
it,
exactly.
it,
I
it
remember just
does make
listening to
it
that. Ooh,
more creepy, I guess. It's
yeah,
cool.
the imagery too of like the acid, like melted fucking person on
Yeah,
the cover too. Like it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
yeah, it's really good, man. Yeah,
I think that kind of imagery and like that kind of sound is what I might steer Crypt Rock back towards now after doing that album.
yeah,
Because I really liked how the EP sounded and like the true crime stuff and everything. And for the album, I was like, oh, we'll do something more polished and the production will be more polished. And like, I was really happy with the album and how it sounded and everything. But now I'm kind of like, oh, I want to go back to being a bit more grimy again, you know? Like, we haven't done much for Crypt Rock this year, but we're doing a split. We're doing a three-way split with two bands. Can't really say who they are yet because we've got the songs. Like I finished them. Kyle's recording vocals now. The other bands are recording, but I think it's going to take like a couple of months for it to be done.
I know. I
But
already
towards
know.
the end of the year, we should have a three-way split out with two really brutal bands.
It's gonna be. I'm totally gonna be wrong. It's gonna be. It's gonna be Puke Wraith and um and Body Box. No, that's like so off. I
Body
can't.
Box would be so good. How good would Body Box be? Do you know who's fucking stuff I love that I would love to do a split with? Bashed In. Do you hear that Bashed In
No, I haven't
fucking
heard Bashed In. I'm writing
dude?
that down right now.
The other day, man, they put out this like EP or whatever it was, Bashed In. Fucking awesome. It's like really tough, almost hardcore beat down shit. It reminds me of like Body Box and fuck, I can't think of what the band's called, but it's similar, but it's real good. Love
Yeah.
to do a split with them.
Your split's gonna be with Volcano.
That
No,
would be fucking amazing. How good is that, man?
that would be
Fucking,
that would be a very like different side of
that
each
would be
one.
cool,
It's
man.
like one side it's like death metal, and the other side I'm gonna kick your ass.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, that'd be sick. Dude, I've started like a hardcore crossover. thing as well called Body Melt. That's going to be playing out
Uh,
an EP month. That's like weirdly the riffs sound like old school kind of thrashy death metal stuff.
yeah.
I didn't really like plan it, but I ended up writing a bunch of like old style Morbid Angel riffs in standard.
Oh, okay, okay.
Because I've got a 7 string that I record like most of my stuff on the 5 string bass, but now I've got this Jackson in standard. Basically, I just bought for the whammy bar because it's got a Floyd Rose, so I get two dive bombs.
Yes.
But then I was fiddling around with it and I was writing all these like thrash riffs in standard. But I ended up like it always happens. I try to write something in a certain style and I can't. I don't quite pull off that style, but I end up making something weird in between a bunch of different styles. So I ended up making like a Morbid Angel type thing with a bunch of thrash riffs, but then the vocalist is like a proper hardcore vocalist.
Yes.
And all the lyrics are about how fucking frustrating it is to be autistic because he's autistic, I'm autistic. Like we both got diagnosed in the last year.
Really?
Like I said, I'm like 37 this year. He's like early 30s. We both just got diagnosed with like ADHD and autism. So we're like, oh, no wonder fucking life's been really difficult for ages. So now
Dude,
we're making like this EP that's just about how fucking frustrating it is to like have like sensory overwhelm or struggle with socializing or whatever it is. It's gonna be cool, man.
that sounds like a proper like premise for a hardcore album too, because you're just like hardcore is just all about
Yeah,
like
yeah,
fuck.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's
And
fucking
I've made like these collages of like mental health, like autism wards from like the 20s up, like where they just fucking used to mistreat people and put them in rooms and shit and just,
fuck.
electrocute them and shit. And all the artwork is like these collages of real autism wards where people were like mistreated, and they look like super old school and 90s. They look kind of grindy actually, because that's my big influence at the moment. But
Yeah.
yeah, so Body Melt that'll be out soon too.
Oh, that's badass. Yeah, body melt. That sounds kind of appetizing too. It sounds like a good sandwich.
I
Like
think
a
it's like an Australian. I've seen it, dude. It's like a crazy Australian horror from like the 90s,
oh, it's a
maybe.
movie, huh?
Yeah,
Body
I think
melt.
after Blood Rage, I was like, I think I thought of Body Melt and then remembered it was a film that I'd seen.
Oh my lord. Yeah, that's a badass fucking cover, dude. Stage one.
Yes,
Hold on, I'm gonna pull it
I
up.
sampled that, dude. I sampled that.
Oh
It's like
really?
Stage one, like bodily something. Dude, it's
Stage
so
one
good. Yeah,
hallucination.
organ failure. Dude,
Body
on the first
melt.
song, like I did a bunch of like thrash riffs and then like did a ring out and used the trailer from that. So the dude's just like body melt, and then it like kicks in with this thrash thing. It's
Dude,
gonna be
that's
awesome.
epic, dude. That's fucking cool.
It's gonna be fun. I'll send it to you when it's done. Like he's done one song. It's got real drums on, which is sick, and he's got like 2 or 3 more songs to record vocals for. So when it's done, I'll send it to you, man.
Hell yeah, dude. I can't wait, man. That's badass. Yeah, you got I'm glad, man. You got a lot of shit in the pipeline and I can't I'm excited to hear everything that you got coming, man, because everything you put out is solid. Like you definitely like I said, everything that you put out clicks immediately, as a listener for me. Like I don't have to sit there, I don't have to play your tape 5 or 6 times like Cryptopsy. I mentioned this, I go back to this all the time. None So Vile. It's one of the best
Yeah,
albums ever, but every time I go back to it, I like now I get it after listening to it like
yeah,
10
yeah.
times,
It took me a while.
The first couple times I hear it, it's fucking noise, but everything you
Yeah,
make, it clicks and it's not like I mean slam clicks, but it's not slam.
yeah,
It makes sense after you said the way that you write a lot of things is little bits and pieces because everything you
yeah,
put down is tangible, tangible, tangible,
yeah.
catchy.
I try to make it as catchy as I can, like super catchy. Like
Yeah,
literally, the structure that I'm doing is like pop song structure, has been for ages.
yeah,
Like I'm only starting now to do more riffy stuff that progresses from A to B.
yeah,
Whereas before, I would always do stuff that repeated in a certain way, um, and try to make it as hooky and catchy as possible. Like even with vocals, dude, like I'll obviously like check with the singer, but I'll cut four bars and repeat them again later if there's no vocals there and they don't repeat. Do you know what I mean? Like just to make it more catchy.
Yeah.
Like, or I'll ask them to do me another chorus again or another verse at the end, just to make stuff stick as much as possible. Because just because you're making like fucking heavy music or whatever, or it's brutal, or it's a bunch of frog noises, doesn't mean that you can't make it as catchy as you can. You know, like that's the shit that I really like. Like that's why I really like bands like Cerebral Raw, um, like the old Bolt Throw stuff that I was on about earlier, dude. Like they made songs, you know, and they had structure, they had hooks, and like I love doing that kind of stuff, but within like a death metal like frame, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely a good way to go about things, and it's a like it's it will keep your music from becoming disposable. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you'll
hopefully people will remember the songs rather than just
yeah the
like,
entire
especially with like the Blood Rage stuff that we're doing now. Like we're trying to like make songs that are catchy, like have a theme for them, decide what they're going to be about beforehand, like have stuff that have specific parts for choruses and stuff. Like a lot of the time, I like to do ring outs
yeah
for choruses, which is such a like old school rock thing to do. Have a chorus where you're just ringing out and just fucking,
yeah
you know. Like when you do it in death metal, it does work, man. Like
yeah
especially if you do a couple of bars with ring out and then a couple of bars with you trending the same thing, which I like to do a lot. Like yeah, I think a lot of classic songwriting stuff, but in death metal is like what I try to do.
yeah. Have
But
you
everything I do just ends up sounding old school. Like the new slam thing I've just done. You know the way like the Cephalotripsy album sounded old school slammy? It sounds like that. Like it sounds loose.
yeah
Like some of the some of the drumming's not quite in time. Some of the guitar's not quite right. Some of the vocals, like he's doing really crazy vocals there. He's like doing kind of cattle decapitation,
yeah
really weird, kind of tunnely highs and stuff at points. And it like the whole thing just sounds like super loose and really like rough around the edges. And like that's the type of shit I really like, is that old school kind of roughness to death metal, you know?
yeah it puts that that it, I like that combined with a cavernous like mix. You know, if
Yeah,
you do
yeah.
that, then you're listening to like that's. It's funny because Spotify told me my top genre I listened to last year was cavernous death metal, and
Oh really?
I was like, what the fuck is cavern? I didn't even know what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
I was like, what the fuck is cavernous death metal? And I was like,
yeah,
oh, all the shit I listened to where it sounds like they're recording in a fucking cave, you know,
yeah, man.
like, and I like that, you know, like that whole it adds a lot of character, you know, to the project. Like when you do
Yeah, it's
that,
cool to not
those
polish stuff too much, man. It's cool to
yeah,
give it
some
like
imperfection.
like the Mephitic Corpse tape.
Hmm.
Did you get that when that came
I
out?
have.
Like that's super. I remember what's the fucking Cannibal Cam? You know that guy?
Mm-mm. Who is that?
He's from the Growl. Like he's making like this death metal documentary called The Growl. He's like this super fucking awesome Canadian guy.
Oh wow, yeah, I'm not even following him. Holy shit.
Oh, dude, he's such a legend, man. You gotta follow him. And I remember him showing the Mephitic Corpse demo when it came out, and I got that. And like that sound is like perfect, gross, old school death metal. But then I also love like, the fucking Malignant Altar demo?
Malignant Altar. Yes. Yeah.
The demo sound though, like the album was sick, but the demo sound, dude, fucking
Yeah.
amazing, man. Like, and the drums were so fucking good on that, dude. It made like the drum playing on that. It was that Dauber guy.
Yeah. Fucking
Um,
rest in peace, Malignant Altar too, man.
dude,
That
I
was
know, man.
that was a
So
fucking
good.
band
I
that
literally just bought a shirt as well. You know, MSUO, like Misako and Oho, is it in London? Like they put out their tapes and like they do stuff with like Extremely Rotten and the gang and stuff all the time. They just got Malignant Altar shirts and I like bought one and I was like, fuck yeah, bought the tape. And then like the next day they were like,
they're
yeah, we're
done.
done. I was like,
Yeah.
God damn it. Just bought the shit.
Fuck, man. Yeah, Haxon did the same fucking thing too. They put out one of the
Yeah,
heaviest demos of all fucking time. And then
yeah,
and they're a band that would have been a cool band to do for Crip Rot to do a split with if they're still going.
yeah,
I could hear a Haxon
yeah,
Crip Rot because they have that
yeah,
same
yeah.
like like type of vibe. Even Blood Rage would be a good split with Haxon,
Yeah.
like they were fucking they were so heavy, man. And you know what would be badass? A three-way split. So hear me out for this. If if there was still Haxon, it would be Crypt Rot, Flesh Rot, and
Oh, that would be
Haxon.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be a fucking fantastic three-way split. I could, cause
Flash Rot's so good, man.
oh, that's Logan. It's funny because Logan picked that as his album of last year, and I was like, I don't
I
know,
loved
like
it.
I gotta
I
sit
loved
with
it.
it. I was like, I gotta sit with it because I picked Seep and I picked
Dude, yeah.
Lipoma, and
Yeah.
this year I just want to listen to heavy shit. Like I've been on a kick where I just need fucking riffs. And Logan said, "Flesh Rot, Unburied Corpse." He said, "If anybody asks you what death metal is, this is it right here." You
That's
know.
true. That's, yeah, 1,000%.
And
It's fucking so good.
I finally like I couldn't find a band. There were too many bands that were doing too much shit on the guitar or like having prog or like weird type of
Yeah.
influences where I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I'm not nothing's hitting it right now. And then I put on
Yeah.
that Flesh Rot and it
Yeah.
clicked for me. I was like, yes, it's just heavy riff riffs
Yeah.
after riff
That,
after
that's
riff.
that's the shit that I want to do, dude. It's just
Yes.
fucking riffs, man. I just love riffs. You know
And
what I
you
mean? Like
do, man. You make
that is the
fucking
fucking shit, dude. It's
yeah,
just playing riffs. Do you know
thick,
what else did for
chunky.
me in like brutal shit is the new Torso Fuck album? Did you
Yeah,
hear that?
dude, oh my god. So
So
I
good.
if you're watching this, Miko, if you're watching this, uh reach out to me via email or on Twitter or wherever because your Instagram is gone and that was the only contact I had with him. He let me
You're
listen
behind them
to
again.
the intro off the album before it came out and I was like, "Holy shit, it's like they never skipped a beat." I love your
Yeah,
new
yeah.
album, Miko.
It's fucking so good, dude.
It's the follow up.
It's
It is
so
the
good.
follow up, and
Yeah,
it's way darker. It's everything he
yeah.
said it was
It
gonna
really
be.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that new
it's
Torso
fucking
Fuck
amazing.
album is. Oh my god, it
Yeah,
literally sounds like no time progressed, and just another album came out. And I hope we
yeah,
see
yeah.
more. He said he is going to be doing a festival. I asked him, "What
Yeah, I
about
saw that.
touring?"
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, he said big tours, maybe not he's not a big fan of doing that right now. But he
Yeah,
says he wouldn't rule anything out in the future. But
that's sick.
yeah, no, that guy, Miko is a fucking really good, he's a good guy. I talked to him. I don't know if you saw the interview I did with him, but it was,
Oh no, I didn't. I didn't know you did an interview with him. That's sick, man. I'll have to
yeah,
watch it.
it's on YouTube.
Oh, I'll go back and watch it. Cool.
It was the first time he ever was on camera for like an interview. He
Like,
had performed live on camera but never talked and
cool.
yeah, it was he has a hell of a story, man, about why there was such a big lapse in albums and
Yeah,
then his story about when he was touring and bodybuilding cuz he's a buff ass
you're
dude,
a big dude. Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah, it's fucking awesome. But yeah, I can't get a hold of you, man. So if there's any way I can get a hold of you, I wanna reach out to you and talk to you, man. Not on the show, just talk to you in private because fuck that Torso Fuck album slaps. It's
So good.
ah yeah. Cheers to the Torso Fuck for sure.
So good.
Yeah, man. But yeah, dude, fucking shit. Thank you for coming on, man. Fucking, I know we've been going for almost 3 hours now. This is fucking killer.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be doing a game night with my girlfriend, man. She's bought these like. Have you ever done these escape room things where you do like
Oh,
puzzles and stuff and like work it
yes,
out? So like
yes,
she's got this like subscription thing where she gets it through the post
yeah,
and you work out like this horror thing or it's like a murder thing or whatever. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll do my interview and then we'll do the escape room thing. So I need to yeah, I should probably get off
yeah,
and go and do that actually. She's just
dude.
waiting.
That sounds awesome, man. Yeah, we'll have fun, doing that. Thank you
Thanks
so
for having me
much.
on, dude. It was fun, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely grateful. And then anything you want to plug before we wrap up?
So the Blood Rage split with Mortuary Ghoul you can get now. Pre-orders are up on Frozen Screams. CDs are out in a couple of weeks' time. The Flax full length, the first Flax full length, Scraping the Rind, is out on Old Grinded Days on June the 2nd. And I'm also going to do tapes through my label, which is called Death Steer Records, and they're going to be out June the 2nd as well. Um, Anybody looking to book gigs or put gigs on, send me a message because we're going to start doing gigs with Blood Rage later in the year. And any drummers in the UK or Wales, hit me up because I need a Blood Rage drummer.
Right on. Tom Hughes,
Thanks,
everybody. All links will be underneath. Make sure to like and subscribe, and go listen to some Blood Rage right now.
thanks, dude.